Chapter 269. Ice Sky Crack Cut. The Ice Break Fist art was a top-rank Earth Realm fist art. There were 14 movements in total, and the last 3 killing movements were extremely hard to train. Until now, Bing Ling could barely perform the third last movement, the Ice Crystal Fist. Although this Ice Sky Crack Cut was not a killing movement, its power was way more powerful than the Ice Break art, and was only weaker than the top 3 killing movements. Swoosh! The perfect ice blade appeared in front of Bing Ling's body. After a slight pause, it flew out with a power that seemed to be able to cut through the air. Because of its high speed and low temperature, it actually left a white ice trail in the air, which was beautiful and dangerous. Murong Qingqing did not dare to underestimate the ice blade. She reached out both of her hands and gripped in the air. The Sky Demon power field burst out. Squeak! The ice blade's speed suddenly slowed down, and its surface started to twist slightly. Break! Murong Qingqing saw Bing Ling's movement again, so she frowned. Her Sky Demon Zhen Qi disappeared like water, turning into the invisible Sky Demon power field. Bang! Ice shards flew everywhere. Right then, Bing Ling had already prepared a new ace attack, which was the Ice Spirit exploding spell that she had used on Yi Chen. The crystal ice ball spun faster, shooting towards Murong Qingqing as fast as lightning. Sky Demon Palm Print. Destroy. Although Murong Qingqing had never experienced the power of the Ice Spirit exploding spell herself, but from the battle between Bing Ling and Yi Chen, she could tell that it was definitely not a normal ace attack. It was a killing attack. The Sky Demon power field could defend against that explosive power, but it could not defend against the horrifying low temperature. Without thinking about it, she immediately cancelled the Sky Demon power field and poured all of her Zhen Qi into her right arm. Her slim palm carried a power that was as deep as the ocean and attacked in the air. Boom! In front of his palm, all the ice crystals within 100 meters floated up and turned into nothingness. The ice ball, on the other hand, seemed to have sunk into a swamp, and its speed slowed to a terrifying degree. Then, it exploded with a bang and was completely annihilated. If it was in the past, Murong Qingqing would consume too much of her true qi after using this move, and her combat power would be sharply reduced. However, since the Great Heavenly Devil technique had been upgraded to the 10th stage, she could now easily use the Great Heavenly Devil palm print, and the consumption of true qi was no more than 10% of her total true qi. Demonic palm print, Heaven's Rebuke. Before she retracted her right palm, Murong Qingqing's left hand struck out. A shocking scene happened. Bing Ling seemed to be repelled by this space. Her whole body was thrown out uncontrollably, and blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Her body twisted a couple of times in the air before Bing Ling landed on the ground steadily. She said, "The Great Heavenly Devil art is indeed worthy of its reputation. I have lost." The Sky Flying Demon Martial School had 2 top martial arts. One was the Sky Demon art, and the other was the Great Heavenly Devil art. The Sky Demon art was good at seeing through weaknesses and killing with one attack. The Great Heavenly Devil art was a martial art that mainly focused on attacking. Not only could it train the Sky Demon power field, it also contained the accompanying martial art, the Great Heavenly Devil palm print. Among all the top-rank Earth Realm martial arts in the South Rudra region, it was one of the top ones and extremely hard to train. Although Bing Ling's Ice Break Fist art was powerful, the Great Heavenly Devil art was the bane of it. Bing Ling could not even get close to Murong Qingqing. "Thank you for letting me win." Murong Qingqing held her fists together. As the two got off the stage, the audience seating was still very lively. 4 of the top 10 seeded contestants had already been eliminated, and there were still 6 contestants left for this round. Among the 6, 5 of them were super popular, such as Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, Li Daoxian, Lin Yun, and Yi Chen. As for Mo Yen, because he had lost to Tua Baku, his popularity had dropped drastically, and he was not as popular among the top young warriors. The 15th Battle, Li Daoxian against Yan Qihua. Wu. The battling field was silent for a second, then a shocking wave of voices exploded. Yan Qihua was ranked second in the last Hidden Dragon rank, and was the #1 blade artist among the young generation in the South Rudra region. His blade art was extremely powerful and aggressive. Even the older generation of blade artists could not compete with him. Before Yi Chen showed up, Li Daoxian was the #1 sword artist among the young generation in the South Rudra region. His sword art was sharp and ruthless, and he could kill with every movement he made. He was called the emotionless sword artist. One was the #1 blade artist, and the other was the #1 sword artist. The battle between the two could ignite the blood in the hearts of the warriors watching the battle. A lot of people felt their throats go dry, their eyes wide open as they stared at the two on the stage. You and I have not fought for 3 years. I wonder if your emotionless sword art could break my blade art. If Xikong Sheng was the king warrior among the young generation, then the fire spirit prince, Yan Qihua, would undoubtedly be the tyrant warrior among the young generation. His aggressiveness was born naturally, and he could look down on the whole world. We will know after we try. Li Daoxian was wearing blue robes, looking very skinny. Standing there, he looked like he could be blown away by a gust of wind. However, once his sword appeared in his hand, a sharp and ruthless sword intent spread out. The whole world seemed to be covered by his sword intent, cutting everything in its way. Yan Qihua glanced at Li Daoxian and said proudly, 3 years ago, you were not my opponent, and 3 years later, you will not be my opponent either. Right now, I will let you attack for 3 times. Within these 3 attacks, I will not take out my blade. If you can win even 1 or 2 attacks from me, I would not mind losing to you. Li Daoxian frowned. There is no need to let me win. I will let you take out your blade for the first attack. Haha, bring it on then. If I cannot even let you have 3 attacks, how could I compete for the #1? Without saying a word, the blade aura around Yan Qihua's body had increased a little bit. His blade was not out of its scabbard yet, but it gave people the feeling of a long blade piercing through the air, which was extremely aggressive. Clang! Li Daoxian's sword had been taken out of its scabbard. The blade could not be seen, only a faint sword light could be seen sweeping out and flashing. Break for me! Yan Qihua shouted loudly. His red Zhen Qi shot up into the sky, turning into a huge burning blade that was 30 meters long and slashed heavily in the air. The sword light was like the wind, invisible and formless. Although Yan Qihua's burning huge blade, which was made of Zhen Qi, had shattered the sword light instantly, but in the next second, the sword light had gathered together again, slicing towards his opponent's face. And such a sharp sword move, and such a strange wind mentality. Yi Chen squinted his eyes. The sword light that Li Daoxian had waved out was like a gust of wind. Even if the wind dispersed, it was still the wind. Or, it could be said that the wind would never disperse, it would always be there. So what if you have the wind mentality? Help me with my blade aura. Yan Qihua's right hand sucked in the air, and the sword light was pulled over. Immediately, beams of red blade light shot out from his palm. The blade light was like fire. After swallowing Li Daoxian's sword light, it became even more powerful, and rushed back towards Li Daoxian like a forest fire. Once this move was performed, half of the top young warrior's expressions suddenly changed. How overbearing was this? He had taken the opponent's attack as his own. Li Daoxian's expression was extremely serious. After 3 years, Yan Qihua's blade art had reached an incredible level. Just relying on the wind mentality would not be able to force him to use his real power. Kill. Once the emotionless sword art was performed, Li Daoxian had thrown away all his emotions. He was like an ancient well without any ripples. His sword did not have any emotions either. All it had was an endless sharp light, cutting everything in front of it. Break it for me just the same. Without taking out his long blade, Yan Qihua's attacking power had been reduced drastically. Facing Li Daoxuan's second sword attack, he pushed his spirit, qi, and soul to the peak. Using both of his arms as blades and both of his hands as blades, each of them had thrown out a couple of meters long red blade light, clashing together in the air. Shoo! 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 The surface of the platform was instantly filled with hundreds of holes. Sword qi and blade qi were flying everywhere like a hornet's nest had exploded, which was extremely spectacular. The third sword attack. Kill. Once this sword attack had been performed, the air had strangely calmed down. The sword light pointed right at Yan Qihua. Yan Qihua kept backing out. He had let Li Daoxian attack 3 times, not only because he was confident, but also because he wanted to challenge his own limit. If he could handle 3 sword attacks from Li Daoxian safely, then he would be qualified to challenge Xikongsheng. Otherwise, there would be no need to even talk about challenging Xikongsheng. This sword attack from Li Daoxian was extremely sharp and sharp. No matter where Yan Qihua backed out to, he felt like he was being stabbed by a needle, making his hair stand up. Shoo! Right then, Yan Qihua was finally ready to use his great blade. Without taking it out of the scabbard, he directly threw out a horizontal attack with the blade still in the scabbard. That red blade light spread out, giving people a horrifying illusion of a volcano eruption and lava shooting up into the sky. It clashed with that heart-piercing sword light. Boom! 2 colors appeared on the 300 meters long battling platform. One was a light silver color and the other was an endless red color. They were clearly separated, and neither of them was willing to give in to the other. Right then, everyone held their breaths and did not even blink their eyes, afraid that they would miss the most crucial moment. In their eyes, Yan Qihua was unbelievably powerful. Without taking out his great blade, he was able to handle 3 sword attacks from Li Daoxian without falling into a disadvantage. It was indeed horrifying. Yi Chen's opinion was slightly different from everyone else's. Although Yan Qihua's blade art was powerful, Li Daoxian was not bad either. The reason why Yan Qihua was able to handle 3 sword attacks from Li Daoxian was not only because of his extremely powerful power, but also because he knew everything about Li Daoxian. If it were another unfamiliar sword artist who was at the same level as Li Daoxian, Yan Qihua would not have been so careless. Besides these reasons, there was another reason. As everyone knew, 3 attacks was neither too long nor too short. When 2 equally powerful sword artists and blade artists were fighting against each other, if one of them did not carry a blade, then his attacking power would be greatly reduced. However, it would not be a problem for him to hold out for 3 attacks, since he still had the mentality of his blade art. What he lacked was only the attacking power and aura. It would be impossible for one of them to lose immediately without a weapon. Of course, Yan Qihua's power was that he did not fall into a disadvantage within 3 attacks. The number 2 of the last hidden dragon rank was indeed not a normal warrior. 3 sword attacks have passed. 3 sword attacks were already Yan Qihua's limit. He took out his great blade without any hesitation and continued to attack along with his previous blade aura. He had pushed the mentality of volcano eruption to another level, which had shattered Li Daoxuan's sword aura within a second. It was like a flood that had opened the floodgates, rushing towards Yan Qihua. Empty kill. In the previous 3 sword attacks, Li Daoxian did not seem to hold back at all. However, facing a blade artist who did not even take out his blade, his attacking power had subconsciously weakened a lot. Maybe he thought that it was not a fair win. Right then, as Yan Qihua threw out his blade attack, Li Daoxuan's sword aura had reached another level, his sword intent surging. Ding, dang, dang. Within a couple of blinks of an eye, the 2 had exchanged dozens of attacks. Burning sparks flew everywhere, and no one could even see where the 2 of them were. That kind of soul-stirring battle had even made the audience forget to breathe, their faces turning red. The sparks did not disappear, and the 2 had exchanged more and more attacks at a higher frequency. For the first time, Mo Yen, who had been operating his sky demon eyes, felt a bit sore in his eyes. Swoosh! A human shadow flew out. It was Li Daoxian. There was a burnt mark on his shoulder, and his clothes had been burned into ashes. Chapter 270. Looking at Yen Qihua again, he was perfectly fine. However, there was a strand of hair missing from his temple, which was flying in the wind and falling onto the ground. Taking my ace attack and not dying. You are the first one in the past 3 years. Putting his long blade back into its scabbard, Yen Qihua touched his temple, which seemed to still have Li Daoxuan's sword intent. Cough. Li Daoxian puked out a mouthful of blood. What a shame! I was still 1 point away. On the 198th attack, he threw out his sword first, cutting off a strand of Yen Qihua's hair. After that, Yen Qihua's attack arrived right at his shoulder. At the critical moment, it was flicked away by Yen Qihua's finger, saving him from a serious injury. However, that burning hot blade light still brushed past his body, causing some damage to his meridians. In the battle between the two, Li Daoxian had lost by half an attack. Awo! The dragon-shaped shadow on Yen Qihua's body jumped towards Li Daoxian. When it came back, it had expanded from 29 meters to 22 meters, getting closer and closer to Xigongsheng. Amazing! Yen Qihua is indeed worthy of being the top young warrior who is only below Xigongsheng. Even Li Daoxian could not stop him. It is indeed amazing, but I could not see through anything at all. I wonder how they managed to decide the winner at the last moment. If even you could see through it, how could it be amazing? Waiting until the two got off the stage, everyone's heart was in their throat again. There were still 2 more battles between top young warriors in this round, and no one knew who would be fighting who. The 16th battle was Su Jing against the 4th Knight. The two styles were quite similar, choosing to fight with brute force. In the end, it was still Su Jing who was slightly better and beat the 4th Knight. The 17th battle was between Gao Feng and Wei Renjie. Gao Feng's sword art was superb, not sticking to a single style, while Wei Renjie's blade art was big and bold, with the demeanor of a master. The two of them fought for more than 30 rounds, and Gao Feng used his sword to knock away Wei Renjie's long blade, and the tip of his sword landed on Wei Renjie's neck. The 18th battle was between Mo Wuxue and Lynch. As an experienced warrior in the Hidden Dragon rank, although Mo Wuxue had just comprehended the blade intent not too long ago, his cultivation was way higher than Lynch's. The two had exchanged hundreds of attacks, but Mo Wuxue's skills were still better than Lynch's. The 19th match. After the 25th match, the audience burst into cheers. Yi Chen was one of the 2 contestants, and his opponent was the head disciple of the Sky Demon Martial School, the Demon Eyes Mo Yen, who was ranked 8th in the last Hidden Dragon rank. Ever since Mo Yen had lost to Tua Baku, his popularity had dropped a bit. However, some of the powerful Clasping Yuan Realm warriors would not underestimate him. The reason why he had lost to Tua Baku was because his opponent's defense was on the higher side, and it would not be easy to see through his weaknesses. Otherwise, if it were someone else who was at the same level as Tua Baku, it would be hard to tell who would win. After all, as an experienced top young warrior, the Demon Eyes Mo Yen would not be easy to deal with. Of course, no one would dare to underestimate Yi Chen even more. Since the beginning of the elimination battles, he had been winning all the battles without losing a single one. His sword art skills were just as powerful as the heartless sword artist Li Daoxian. Plus, he had the 50% sword intent, plus his extremely calm personality. In other words, Yi Chen was one of the most horrifying young warriors in this year's young generation. He and Tua Baku were the top 2 new top young warriors. His popularity was right behind the top young warriors like Xigongsheng and the others. What caught people's attention even more was that the Demon Eyes Mo Yen had trained the Sky Demon art, which allowed him to see through weaknesses. Once he attacked, it would be aimed at his opponent's vital parts. Judging from the previous battles, Yi Chen's ability to see through weaknesses was just as horrifying. What was different from Mo Yen was that Yi Chen was good at seeing through the weaknesses of martial arts. As long as he got serious, his opponent would not be able to perform a complete martial art. Bing Ling and Qian Yun were the best examples. On the battling platform, Yi Chen and Mo Yen stood 80 meters away from each other. Just like a small portion of the people, Yi Chen would not underestimate Mo Yen. In fact, among the top young warriors, besides Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, Li Daoxian, and Murong Qinqing, Mo Yen would be ranked number 1 in terms of battling with him. Even Tua Baku and Lin Yun would be slightly weaker than him, because Yi Chen was a martial artist himself, while Tua Baku and Lin Yun were not as good at it. However, Yi Chen also knew that Tua Baku and Lin Yun were more powerful than Mo Yen, since the two of them had both reached the 11th realm of their martial arts, which made them extremely powerful. The sky demon eyes are very mysterious. They can see through the weaknesses of things, and nothing can hide. Yi Chen's protective Zhen Qi layer is a bit weak. I am afraid this battle will not be easy. Indeed. Among the top young warriors, there are a few who could counter each other. For example, Tua Baku could counter Mo Yen, and Murong Qinqing could counter Bing Ling. In a way, Mo Yen could counter Yi Chen. You are right, but Mo Yan's movements might also be seen through by Yi Chen, and it would not work. Without a real battle, no one would know what would happen. The battle had not started yet, but everyone was already expressing their opinions. Your protective Zhen Qi layer only has 2 weaknesses, which surprised me a lot. Mo Yen did not attack right away, but said something suddenly. Yi Chen smiled lightly. Even the nature has weaknesses. As a human being, I naturally have weaknesses as well. However, knowing the existence of weaknesses and hitting them are 2 different things. He had already trained his mysterious great art to the highest realm, and it came from the Heaven Dream Battle Palace. So, it was natural that he would not have many weaknesses. As for the other top young warriors, although their martial arts were of a very high rank, none of them had reached the highest realm. They were only more powerful, and their protective Zhen Qi layer had even more weaknesses than him. Mo Yen sneered. I haven't finished yet. Your protective Zhen Qi indeed only has 2 weak points. But in my eyes, your protective Zhen Qi itself is the weak point. Under one attack, it won't be able to hold on for a blink of an eye. It might not even be able to hold on for half a blink. Since you are this confident, then I have nothing else to say. From now on, your attacks will not touch me even once. The star-scar sword appeared in his hand as Yi Chen stopped talking. Mysterious spirit finger. Just as Yi Chen was about to speak, Mo Yen moved. He put his right index and middle fingers together, and a dim light appeared on them, stabbing towards Yi Chen from a distance. He thought to himself, fake and real, real and fake, this is my fighting style. If it is not because you cannot adapt to it, then I am sorry. All of the warriors watching the battle were speechless. They had already known about Mo Yan's fighting style, but attacking when someone else was talking was a bit too petty. All of the people from the Sky Cloud Martial School frowned. They knew how powerful Mo Yan was. Even Tua Baku had been hit a couple of times. If it were not for his powerful defense, he would have been beaten by Mo Yan already. And it was a fact that Yi Chen had trained a weak martial art. He was afraid that his protective Zhen Qi layer would not be able to block out that finger attack. He could only try his best to avoid it. The mysterious spirit finger could change its route within a second, and this time was no exception. When it was 5 feet away from Yi Chen, the finger light suddenly disappeared. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Yi Chen. Pooh! Right at that moment, a beam of sword light sliced across, cutting open the finger light. It was like it had been waiting for the finger light to arrive. How is this possible? How could he see through my mysterious spirit finger? Mo Yen did not expect to beat Yi Chen with his mysterious spirit finger. In his opinion, Yi Chen would definitely avoid it, just like Tua Baku. If that happened, the mysterious spirit's 7 fingers would be ready to attack. Even if it could not beat Yi Chen, it would at least make him look bad and lose his previous glory. He had never expected that Yi Chen would be able to see through his mysterious spirit finger attack with only one glance. Cutting open the finger light, Yi Chen said lightly, "I said it before, your attack will not touch me even once." Arrogant. Mo Yen was furious. He put up his index and middle fingers, stabbing out at Yi Chen. It was indeed the mysterious spirit's 7 fingers that had shaved off one of Tua Baku's eyebrows. Ting, ting, ting. There was no need to throw out 7 sword attacks. Yi Chen had only thrown out 3 sword attacks to cut open the finger light one by one. Moreover, he did not even move an inch. Shoo! After doing all that, Yi Chen's body moved, flying towards Mo Yen at an extreme speed. Back out. Mo Yen switched to his more powerful mysterious spirit finger attack, attacking towards Yi Chen from a distance. Pooh! It was Yi Chen's Zhenqi shadow that had been shattered. His real body was already less than 1 meter away from Mo Yen. His blue robe danced in the air as he waved the longsword in his hand 4 times. Ghost shadow perplexing step. His body turned into a black chi flow and disappeared. Mo Yen pushed his Zhenqi and appeared behind Yi Chen within a second. However, what was waiting for him was also a beam of sword light. Pooh! His protective Zhenqi layer had been cut in half. Mo Yen was shocked. Right then, he looked like he had just seen a ghost. No one had ever been this relaxed in front of him, as if he was in control of the whole situation. Meanwhile, he was like a bug on a spider's web. No matter how hard he struggled, it would all be futile. This kind of feeling annoyed him even more. "I do not believe that you can predict my attack route again." Mo Yen continued to perform his ghost shadow perplexing step. His whole body turned into a black chi flow, surrounding Yi Chen. Looking over, one could only see countless black lines, but not a single human figure. Yi Chen took 3 steps to the right, then suddenly turned his body. The star scar sword combined with the fast sword poetic perspective threw out an attack. No sword light could be seen, only blood spilling everywhere. Mo Yen did not believe it, so he pushed his ghost shadow perplexing step art to its limit. Towards the end, Yi Chen was surrounded by layers of black chi flow. It was hard to tell which one was real and which one was fake. The star scar sword flashed once again. Another stream of blood spilled out. This time, it was even more serious than before. When Yi Chen waved his sword for the 3rd time, Mo Yen froze on the spot, unable to move. It was not that he could not move, but that he did not dare to move. Because the tip of Yi Chen's sword was pointed at his throat. The sharp intent had even pierced through his skin a little, and a drop of blood came out. "It would be fine if you do not move. Once you move, you will have a lot of weaknesses." Hearing him, Mo Yan's face turned red. From the beginning to the end, he had been under Yi Chen's control. His sky demon eyes had indeed seen through all of his weaknesses, but it was still useless. Unless he did not attack at all, once he did, all of his weaknesses would be exposed, and he would not even be able to threaten his opponent. Shoo! Taking back his star scar sword, Yi Chen shook his head. Among the young generation, unless they were at the same level as him, it would not take much effort to take care of their opponent. Mo Yen was no exception. The dragon-shaped shadow outside his body had devoured part of Mo Yan's dragon fountain chi. It had expanded to 28 meters, its shape clear and majestic. The audience was dead silent. In the battle between Yi Chen and Mo Yen had lost completely. In front of Yi Chen, Mo Yan's sky demon eyes did not have much of an effect, because all of his attacks had been seen through by Yi Chen. In other words, compared to Tua Baku, Yi Chen was more like Mo Yan's nemesis. Chapter 271. So scary. He could even see through Mo Yan's movements. How did he do it? A lot of people could not understand. If it was because he could see through other people's movements, then it would be because they had not fully mastered their martial arts yet. However, Mo Yen had trained the Sky Demon Eyes, and had a deep understanding of martial arts movement. He belonged to the skillful martial arts school, so how could he be beaten by another skillful martial artist so easily? Phantom Spirit Finger, Ghost Shadow Perplexing Step, they were both seen through. Mo Yen lost completely. They are not even at the same level. Right next to Li Daoxian, a core disciple of the Heartless Martial School asked, "Head disciple, do you know what is going on? Could it be that Yi Chen's martial art realm is way beyond Mo Yan's, and he has already reached another level?" It is for sure that Yi Chen's martial art realm is beyond Mo Yan's, but the difference is not that big. The reason why Mo Yan lost was because he was not fast enough, and he was not powerful enough. As one of the top sword artists in the young generation, Li Daoxuan's eyes were obviously better than others. Not fast enough? Not powerful enough? That disciple was still a bit confused. Li Daoxian explained, it was not fast enough, which caused Mo Yen to be one step slower. Although he had attacked first, he could not reach first. That was the key. It was not powerful enough because the Sky Demon art was slightly weaker in terms of attacking power, and focused more on technique. Therefore, he was not as powerful as Yi Chen in either aspect. Naturally, he would not be able to pose much of a threat to Yi Chen. Hearing Li Daoxuan's explanation, the disciple finally understood. I see. If he was fast enough, then even if Yi Chen could see through the weaknesses of his movements, he would not be able to react fast enough. However, if he was powerful enough, then he would not need to care about weaknesses, and could choose to fight head-on. Otherwise, he would not be an opponent for Yi Chen at all. Yes, that should be it. On the surface, Bing Ling's fighting ability is weaker than Mo Yan's, but Bing Ling can exchange a lot of moves with Yi Chen. Mo Yan can't. Li Daoxian was more or less right. No one knew his own situation better than Yi Chen. Mo Yan's weak point attack might seem very strong in other people's eyes, but Yi Chen was not afraid of this kind of opponent. If Mo Yan was a little stronger, he could at least exchange a few moves with him. Of course, there were some differences. Comparing Mo Yan, Tuabaku, and Lin Yun together, Yi Chen still thought that Mo Yan would be more difficult to deal with. The latter two were indeed powerful enough, but Yi Chen did not need to spend any effort at all. As long as he increased his attacking power to a certain level, he would be able to hit them easily. When facing Mo Yan, Yi Chen did not choose to use his sky-shattering clouds, which was a head-on attack, because he knew that it would be very hard to hit Mo Yan. Therefore, he might as well use his fast sword poetic perspective, which was not as powerful. Facing different people, he would use different battle plans. This was Yi Chen's style. Obviously, attacking head-on would be the easiest. Excluding the top three, Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, Li Daoxian, and Murong Qingqing would be the real tricky ones. It would be impossible for Yi Chen to win against them easily. He would have to use his own power to fight against them, since it would be impossible for him to control the whole situation. However, Yi Chen still had some ace up his sleeve, such as his 70% sword intent. This guy is a special one. Those who are not as powerful as him would basically be crushed within one attack. There is no doubt about it. The head judge finally opened his mouth. Hearing him, the other judges nodded. In their eyes, Yi Chen was indeed different. Normally, if a powerful warrior wanted to beat a warrior who was not that much weaker than him, it would not be a one-sided situation. It would take at least dozens of attacks to decide the winner. However, Yi Chen was able to ignore this rule. Those who were not as powerful as him would not even have the right to bother him. The battle has ended. Let's announce the next battle, the head judge said. A judge next to him stood up. Yi Chen wins the 27th battle. The battle continued, and Yi Chen went back to the audience. Originally, after beating Mo Yan, he should be the center of attention. However, right now it was not him, but Xikong Sheng and Lin Yun. more specifically, Xing. So far, 8 of the top 10 seeded contestants had appeared, and the remaining 2 were indeed Xing and Lin Yun. Xing, the head disciple of the Floating Mountain Martial School, was 20 years old this year. He had participated in 3 Hidden Dragon rank competitions in total. The first time he participated in the competition, he was only 15 years old. It was a dark horse and he had won the second place. What was even more frightening was that he had not even reached the Clasping Yuan realm back then. He had beaten a lot of young warriors who were at the Clasping Yuan realm with his late Condensing Reality realm cultivation. Since then, his name had spread across the whole South Rudra region. In the second Hidden Dragon rank competition, he was only 18 years old. He had thought that there would be a fierce battle, but he had used his indisputable power to go through all the obstacles. He had beaten the top young warrior of the previous Hidden Dragon rank, the Fire Spirit Prince Yan Qihua, the eldest prince of the Black Dragon Empire, and the Heartless Sword Artist Li Daoxian and the others. He had become the king warrior of the young generation in the whole South Rudra region. His fame had spread across the whole South Rudra region. This was the third Hidden Dragon rank competition he had participated in. No one knew his real power, but it was said that he had already reached the limit of the Clasping Yuan realm, and was training his Zhen Qi to prepare for the astral reaching realm. No matter what, Xing's power was obvious to everyone. Everyone thought that he would still be the king of this year's Hidden Dragon rank, and no one would be able to shake his position. Although the head disciple of the Skyfall Martial School, Lin Yun was not as bright as Xing, and not as aggressive as Yan Qihua, he was still ranked 5th in the last Hidden Dragon rank. As the top martial genius of the South Rudra region, who knew what kind of progress he would make in the next 3 years. Just like Murong Qinqing 3 years ago, she was only ranked 27th at that time. But this year, she had suddenly become one of the top young warriors, and was one of the most popular candidates for the top 5. Lin Yun, who was ranked even higher than Murong Qinqing, would not be easy to deal with. The title of the top young warrior in the South Rudra region was way too famous, and there would definitely be a lot of people staring at it. If Xing wanted to keep his position, he would have to have enough power. Right now, his first challenge had come, and it was Lin Yun, who was not friendly at all. The battle between the two had attracted a lot of people's attention. The 31st battle, Xing against Lin Yun. As the battles had ended one after another, the head judge had finally announced the winner of the 31st battle himself. Boom! Not only the warriors who were watching the battle, all of the young warriors had their eyes fixed on the battling platform without blinking. The sound of their heartbeats could even be heard. Xing has finally shown up. Even if Lin Yun could not win, he would at least be able to force out most of his power. Someone said. Indeed. If it were someone else, it would not be worth watching anymore. I wonder how far Lin Yun could push Xing. Let's wait and see. After hearing his name, Lin Yun's aura exploded. His body flashed once, shooting out like a meteor onto the battling platform. His aggressive posture was shocking. Different from Lin Yun's arrogance, Xing did not seem to care about Lin Yun at all. He put his right hand behind his back and walked right in front of Lin Yun with one step. The two top young warriors had officially confronted each other. Xing, I thought our battle would last until the end. I did not expect it to be brought forward. This is good as well. It would save me the trouble of hiding my power. The clothes on Lin Yun's body started to vibrate as his qi power was ready to explode. A burning hot qi that was completely different from Yan Qihua spread out. Xing put his right hand behind his back while his left hand was casually placed on the side. He said lightly, "You are not my opponent. If it were Yan Qihua, I would be interested to have a try. I will let you know my real power." Lin Yun's eyes shone with a bright light, which contained the poetic perspective of a meteor falling from the sky. It attacked towards Xing aggressively. At the same time, he roared as an iron spear appeared in his hand. The iron spear was covered in a dark red flame as he threw out a spear attack. Sky Fire 4 Spear. As soon as the spear was thrown out, the dark red flame started to spin crazily, turning into countless fire patterns and shooting out. The burning temperature had even ignited the fire yuan qi in the air, adding to its power. Destroy. Sikong Xing reached out his left hand. His 5 fingers opened as he grabbed towards the fire patterns in the air. Pooh! The fire patterns had been extinguished. Right then, Lin Yun's following 3 spear attacks had arrived. Each spear attack was more violent and faster than the previous one. A huge amount of fire yuan qi had turned into pure fuel, merging into the spear aura. It had turned a small half of the battling platform into a world of fire. Inside the world of fire, 3 meteor-like spear light shot out. Interesting. Sky Pushing Palm. The Sky Pushing Palm was a top martial art of the Floating Mountain Martial School, but it was not the top martial art. It was only at the high-rank Earth Realm level. However, when Sikong Xing performed it, the whole space had been cleared out instantly. The flames had been pushed back, unable to move any further. Meanwhile, those 3 meteor-like spear light had been shattered bit by bit under the vibration of the palm power. They then disappeared completely. The other leaders of the Rank 6 martial institutions' pupils shrank. Sikong Sheng's martial art mastery had obviously reached perfection. The wonders of the Sky Pushing Palm had been fully displayed. Sky Fall Attack. His attack had been dissolved, so Lin Yun took a deep breath and poured all of his Zhen Qi into his iron spear. He and the spear had become one, bringing with them an unstoppable aura as he attacked out. The young warriors who were close to him had been affected by the poetic perspective. They felt like they were in a world of chaos, and huge flaming meteors had appeared in the sky. With his right hand still behind his back, Sikong Xing's expression started to turn serious. His left palm turned into a fist, holding it tightly together as he threw out a punch. Sky Tyrant Fist. As he threw out this punch, the surrounding sky and earth seemed to have been merged into the fist aura, carrying the will of the sky as it attacked towards Lin Yun. The air in front of him twisted and turned blurry. The space vibrated, and the people under the stage could not even see where Lin Yun was. They could only see Sikong Xing standing there quietly like a king on the stage. Boom! A crack appeared on the tough battling platform. Lin Yun held the iron spear in his hand as he puked out a mouthful of blood and was blown back. His poetic perspective had been completely destroyed. Sky Tyrant Fist. This is the secret martial art created by the mysterious king. Combined with Sikong Sheng's status as a king warrior of the young generation, no one would be able to compete with him. Lin Yun was able to force Sikong Xing to use his Sky Tyrant Fist. He did not lose too badly. He could only blame Sikong Xing for being too powerful and being above the young generation. Chapter 272. Sikong Xing, take another attack of mine. Blood Flame Break. Just when everyone thought that the battle had come to an end, Lin Yun, who was still flying backward, waved his right hand in the air. All of the blood that had spilled out gathered into a pile. Under the burning of the dark red flame, it made a cracking sound before turning into a bloody spear tip, shooting towards Sikong Xing. Shoo! The blood-condensed spear tip was extremely fast. It was like a beam of bloody lightning, shooting out in front of Sikong Xing within a second. Sikong Xing looked a bit surprised as he threw out a punch onto the tip of the spear. Swoosh! The tip of the spear had been shattered. The blood-red flame expanded rapidly in the air, devouring Sikong Xing completely. What? Lin Yun still has this kind of attack? There were a lot of clasping Yuan realm warriors who were able to compete with or even kill rank 6 tyrant beasts. They could tell with one glance that Lin Yun's ace attack could kill any rank 6 tyrant beasts within a second. That blood-red flame was not a normal flame either. It was a special flame that had been infused with the power of blood, which was extremely sticky. Sikong Sheng's protective Zhenqi layer had been melted by the blood-red flame. It was like a pile of snow in the winter, or a block of ice in the early spring. Stumbling onto the platform, Lin Yun reached out his hand and wiped off the blood on the corner of his mouth. He chuckled and said, "This attack is a killing attack that I had specially modified for you. It is your honor to be defeated by this attack." "Lin Yun, do you really think that you can beat me with this attack? You have overestimated yourself." Wrapped in the flame, Sikong Sheng's right hand, which had been behind his back, finally reached out. That hand was long and powerful, and there was nothing special about it. However, when the 5 fingers of that right hand opened up, the space around it started to shake drastically. It was like what he had opened up was not his fingers, but the whole sky. The burning blood-colored flame started to spin and shrink crazily with that hand as the center. It eventually shrunk into an egg-sized blood-colored fireball, landing on top of Sikong Sheng's palm. It was less than half an inch away from the center of his palm. Pooh! Sikong Sheng clenched his fist, and the fireball turned into a beam of blue smoke before disappearing. Raising his face, Sikong Sheng's eyes were like gods as he stared at Lin Yun and said, "The winner has been decided. Do you still want to fight?" "Humph, you're good." A reluctant look flashed through Lin Yun's face. He had prepared for this attack for a long time, but it still could not do anything to Sikong Sheng. Although he still had other ace attacks, they were not as powerful as the blood fire break. It would be a waste to expose his ace attack. "Never mind, if I can't fight for the first place, then I will fight for the second place." The dragon-shaped shadow on Sikong Sheng's body was 24 meters long, but after devouring Lin Yun's dragon fountain chi, it had instantly reached 26 meters, which was getting closer and closer to 90 meters. Sikong Sheng's power is still overwhelming. Even Lin Yun could not pose any threat to him. I wonder who else in this rank would be able to fight against him for real. Yeah. If I can't see the pinnacle battles, it will be quite boring. Yan Qihua should be able to make him take it seriously. As for the undefeated Yi Chen, it's hard to say for now. Only when he becomes the #1 swordsman of the younger generation will he have the basic qualifications. Yi Chen might not be able to win against Li Daoxian, not to mention Sikong Sheng. 50% of his sword intent is still too weak after all. He might not be able to win against Li Daoxian, not to mention Sikong Sheng. Right now it is still too early to talk about this. The 63rd round is about to end. Perhaps we will be able to see something in the 64th round. The battle between Sikong Sheng and Lin Yun was not that intense. Everyone was still looking forward to the next round of battles. Soon, the 63rd round had ended. The 64th round did not start right away, as some of the wounded young warriors needed to recover their energy and injuries, especially the top young warriors. Right then, the power of the martial institutions had been revealed. Bing Ling, Li Daoxian, and Lin Yun had only been slightly wounded, but the pellets they had used were worth tens of thousands of mid-rank soul stones. Combined with the healing from the Sea of Souls realm warriors, they had all been healed within 2 hours. As for Mo Yen, he had only been wounded on the skin, so it would not be a big deal even if he did not need to be healed. After 2 hours, the 64th round had begun. In the first 6 battles, it was not the top young warrior's turn yet. In the 7th round, Li Daoxian was the first one to fight. His opponent was Mo Yen, who had lost to Yi Chen in the last round. Facing Li Daoxian, Mo Yen finally did not have to worry about anything anymore. Before, he had lost to Tua Baku and Yi Chen, and most of the reasons were because he had been suppressed. Tua Baku's defense had made his sky demon eyes useless, and Yi Chen's ability to see through the weaknesses of his attacks had also made him lose. Although Li Daoxian was extremely powerful, and was not weaker than Tua Baku and Yi Chen, as long as he was not suppressed, he would be able to perform his sky demon eyes as much as he wanted, attacking the weaknesses that he was good at. Mysterious Spirit 7 Finger. His body was like a ghost as Mo Yin walked around Li Daoxian. No one could see his body clearly. He held up his index and middle fingers together, continuously pointing at Mo Yan's weaknesses. Kill! 5 beams of sword light flashed through, and the finger light had been cut open one after another. Li Daoxian extended his body, and his sword intent spread out, locking onto Mo Yan's general location. He threw out a sword attack. The black chi flow was torn apart like a piece of cloth, and Mo Yan's body was exposed. He stepped back with both of his feet, shooting out 5 beams of finger light in a row, shattering that sharp sword chi. Kill! Once he performed his emotionless sword arts ace attack, the air had strangely calmed down. A light sword light that was as calm as water appeared faintly, pointing right at Mo Yan's vital parts. Mo Yin knew how horrifying this sword attack was. The dark red light in his pupils had been condensed to its extreme. He scanned through the air and found 3 unbalanced spots in the air. Without any hesitation, he shot out his finger light, landing on those 3 spots. Pooh! 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 The light veil was taken off and the sword light was exposed, attacking over heavily. Shoo! The clothes on Mo Yan's shoulder had been cut open. Tiny drops of blood leaked out of his skin and rolled down. Sky kill! After successfully shattering or dodging Li Daoxuan's first 2 sword attacks, Mo Yan's confidence had been boosted, and his aura had become even stronger. However, when Li Daoxian threw out the 3rd sword attack, Mo Yan frowned. This sword attack did not have any sword light at all, nor did it have any sword chi. There were only tiny patterns that spread out in all directions. It seemed like there was sword light everywhere, but there were also sword lights everywhere. How should I defend against it? Mo Yin had a question in his mind. Thoughts flashed through his mind at lightning speed. You lost! Right then, Li Daoxuan's voice came from right next to his ears. At the same time, he could feel a bone-piercing sharpness. Mo Yin turned his head and saw a great sword that was shining with a cold light was less than an inch away from him. The invisible sharp light on the tip of the sword had cut off a few hairs on his body. What is going on? Could it be a fake attack? I can't tell either. Besides some slight vibrations in the air, there was no attack at all. I think it was just to confuse Mo Yin. Even Mo Yan's sky demon eyes could not see through it. Whether it was a fake attack or not, it was horrifying enough. Everyone could not tell what was going on, so they started to discuss. Yan Qihua, who had fought against Li Daoxian before, twitched his mouth but did not say anything. Li Daoxian had used this attack on him before. Hearing everyone's discussion, Yi Chen slightly shook his head. It was definitely not a fake attack. It was a real killing attack, and it was a killing attack that had 2 layers of attacks stacked on top of each other. One was fake while the other was real, one was in the light while the other was in the dark. When you were attracted by the attack in the light, the killing attack in the dark would come right after. When you ignored the attack in the light, then the seemingly fake attack would become a horrifying killing attack. This was a sword attack that was close to perfection. It had to be broken in all aspects, or else it would be unbreakable. Thinking about that, Yi Chen could not help but glance at Yan Qihua. Before, when the two were battling, Li Daoxuan's sword speed was extremely fast, and it was hard for him to see through it. After all, everyone had their own limit, and so did Yi Chen. If he could break all kinds of attacks, then it would be too crazy, since he was not that powerful yet. Yan Qihua was facing Li Daoxuan's sky kill sword attack, and had broken it with one blade attack. His power was way more horrifying than anyone had imagined, which was completely different from his previous aggressive style. Being rough but also careful, that was what a powerful blade artist should have. Yan Qihua was the #1 blade artist among the young generation in the whole South Zhuo region. He was definitely worthy of that title. Wei Renjie, who was known as the blade master of the young generation, was still 1 or 2 levels lower than him. After devouring Mo Yan's dragon fountain chi, Li Daoxian had been beaten by Yan Qihua. His dragon shadow, which had shrunk to 23 meters, had grown again to 26 meters. Mo Yan, who had walked off the stage, looked a bit tired. Including Li Daoxian, he had already lost 3 times. The first 2 were against Tua Baku and Yi Chen. Even if he only lost 2 more battles, he would not be able to get into the top 5 of the Hidden Dragon rank. He would not be able to beat Xikong Sheng for sure, and neither would Yan Qihua. Murong Qingqing and Lin Yun were also extremely dangerous. He did not even have a 50% chance of winning. After 3 battles, the second pair of top young warriors got on the stage. Haha, I did not have enough fun in the Black Dragon Empire. This time, I will try my best. Tua Baku laughed out loud the second he got on the stage. His opponent was none other than Yi Chen. Yi Chen smiled. I would like to see your full power as well. Come on then. Ruin 18 Fist Art. In Tua Baku's eyes, Yi Chen was the most powerful warrior among the young generation besides Xikong Sheng. He did not dare to hide his power at all. His 11th level of defensive martial art had been fully used. His Zhen Qi shot up into the sky as he threw out a punch towards Yi Chen crazily. It was obviously more powerful than when he was fighting against Mo Yan. Pouring 50% of his sword intent into the sky, shattering clouds' poetic perspective, Yi Chen's body turned into a blur as he flashed to the weakest part of the fist aura. He then held his sword with both of his hands and threw out a sword attack with the power of thunder and lightning. It was his most powerful sword attack with 50% of his sword intent, which was also more powerful than before. Pooh! His protective Zhen Qi layer had been bitten into pieces by Tua Baku's brutal dragon movement. Yi Chen tightened his left hand into a fist and punched out the dragon-shaped fist power a little bit. It had only brushed past his body. As for his sword attack, it had completely landed on Tua Baku's body, shattering his protective Zhen Qi layer. His clothes had been torn apart, and a long white mark appeared on Tua Baku's chest. He laughed and said, "Powerful enough. Too bad it still could not break through my defense. Ruin Dragon Attack." This time, all of Tua Baku's fist power had turned into dragon shapes. Countless dragon-shaped chi streams rushed towards Yi Chen like a group of dragons dancing in the air. Who? Yi Chen, who was floating in the air, shook his body. A powerful invisible sharp light spread out, shaking the air and bringing up waves of pattern. 60% sword intent exploded. Chapter 273. What? 60% sword intent? Didn't he only learn 50% sword intent? How come it has become 60% sword intent now? Perhaps this is his ace card? Hiding the sword intent level seems to be very hard to do. How did he do it? Perhaps it would be hard to see sword intent in other places, but in the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank, there were already more than 20 young warriors who had learned the sword intent, which was more than any of the previous years. Among them, Li Daoxian was the most outstanding one, and he was currently at 60% sword intent. Tang Xiaoshan was at entry level, and Yi Chen was at 50% sword intent, which made him ranked second. However, now that he had revealed his 60% sword intent, Yi Chen's understanding of the sword intent was not any weaker than Li Daoxian. Plus, Yi Chen's sword art was so powerful, which made him even more powerful. More importantly, could the sword intent level be hidden that easily? It was understandable that Yi Chen did not reveal his sword intent before, since most of the sword artists could do it. But to hide the sword intent from 50% to 50% was 10 times more difficult, because the sword intent was very mysterious and hard to distinguish. The so-called 40 to 50% was just a rough estimate. Normally, there were only 3 levels of the sword intent, which were divided into entry level, and completion. Dividing it into levels was completely out of necessity, since the sword intent was so hard to learn, and every little bit of improvement would be extremely valuable. After a long time, The sword artists who had learned the sword intent had thought of dividing the sword intent into levels. If hiding the 50% sword intent was 10 times more difficult, then hiding the 60% sword intent would be even more difficult. The more powerful the sword intent was, the harder it would be to hide. People who could easily hide the sword intent were definitely those sword artists who were very good at using the sword intent. They would be able to beat another sword artist with the same sword intent. Thinking up to here, everyone was shocked. Could it be that Yi Chen's mastery of the sword intent was even better than Li Daoxuan's? It is not possible. Li Daoxian had reached the 60% sword intent half a year ago. With his talent in the sword art, he would not lose to anyone in the way of using the sword intent. Everyone found it hard to believe. As soon as the 60% sword intent burst out, Yi Chen felt that his sword aura had increased crazily. For a sword artist, the sword intent wasn't just a one-sided amplification. It could increase the sword artist's attacking power, make up for the flaws in his sword art, and push his sword art to another level. Therefore, the sword intent wasn't just a matter of attacking power, it could also increase the sword artist's overall power to another level. Meanwhile, the improvement of the sword intent level would have a greater and greater effect on the comprehensive power. If the entry level of sword intent was a barrier, then every level after that would be a barrier. Therefore, Yi Chen with 50% sword intent and Yi Chen with 60% sword intent were not on the same level at all, they were on two completely different levels. Pu, the illusory sword light flashed, and the heads of the dragon-shaped energy streams were chopped off one after another, bursting into pieces. Amazing! He actually concealed a level of sword intent. Yi Chen's sword intent was too powerful. Tua Baku had just launched his attack when he realized that something was wrong. The sword intent that spread out from Yi Chen's body had made his hair stand on end. His fist aura had been blocked, as if it had been cut by countless invisible sharp blades. Savage tyrant body! Tua Baku yelled. That aggressive Zhen Qi had been hidden to the extreme, sticking to the surface of his skin like a thin layer of light film. It was dark blue in color. Pushing his defense to its limit, Tua Baku's eyes were wide open, shining brightly. He threw out an even more powerful punch towards Yi Chen. The dragon-shaped Qi showed its fangs and claws. Break! Yi Chen waved out a sword attack, and the whole space seemed to have been cracked open. The dragon-shaped Qi had been sliced apart, and could not do anything. Then, the sword Qi was like lightning, landing on Tua Baku's body within a second. Chin! Burning sparks shot into the sky like fireworks. Tua Baku's feet were blown into the air by that sword attack that contained 60% sword intent. His whole body landed on the surface of the dark blue light wall. Right then, the sword Qi had still not disappeared completely, continuing to press on. No, my savage tyrant body will not be able to hold on for much longer. Tua Baku was shocked. The dark blue light layer on his chest had started to crack, which could not be repaired at all. It was the first time that he had felt what it meant to be unstoppable. All of the muscles in his body started to twist. A wild light suddenly flashed through Tua Baku's eyes. His right arm that had expanded to twice its original size bent and pulled back, punching onto the sword Qi. Crack! The sword Qi had been shattered, and Tua Baku's right fist was covered in blood. Dragon World! The blood had been shattered by his fist power. Tua Baku's left hand hit on the light wall, and with a huge pushing force, he shot out a horrifying dragon-shaped Qi. The dragon-shaped Qi roared into the sky, its massive head seeming to be able to devour a small house. The air around it was like a flood of water under the huge pressure, bringing up huge waves, allowing the dragon-shaped Qi to travel around freely. The sharp intent had all gathered and merged into the Star-Scar sword. Yi Chen stepped on the air, his body flashing. The next second, a long and sharp sword light flashed through the belly of that dragon-shaped Qi, cutting it in half. Tua Baku, who was behind it, had been blown away with his hands crossed in front of his chest. He did not follow up with another attack. Yi Chen was still in the air, putting his long sword back into its scabbard. He lightly landed on the platform, his blue robe dancing in the wind. Bang! Tua Baku had also landed, but he had been cut into the ground. The platform under his feet was full of cracks, looking like spider webs. Even my most powerful ace attack could not do anything to you. I have lost. Wiping away the blood on the corner of his mouth, Tua Baku chuckled, but he did not look like he was going to die. Yi Chen said, with only 60% sword intent, it would be hard for me to kill you. Tua Baku's defense was unimaginable. Normal top-rank Earth Realm defense martial arts would not have this kind of effect. This was at least one of the top-rank Earth Realm defense martial arts. Besides that, Tua Baku's body was extremely compatible with this martial art. His 11th realm defense would not be any weaker than other people's 12th realm. Compared to my defense, my attacking power is indeed a bit weak. Tua Baku knew his weakness, which was why he had decided to give up. Otherwise, it would not be as simple as a light wound. Awoof! The dragon-shaped shadow jumped out, devouring Tua Baku's dragon fountain chi. Soon, Yi Chen's dragon-shaped shadow had reached beyond 80 meters, reaching 81 meters. It was right behind Sikong Sheng and Yan Qihua, ranking third. This battle is not going to be easy. The leader of the Heartless Martial School frowned. Yi Chen's 60% sword intent had appeared out of nowhere, which had made him lose confidence in Li Daoxian. Although there seemed to be a 10% difference between 50% sword intent and 60% sword intent, the gap was extremely obvious. Right now, Yi Chen's understanding of the sword intent was the same as Li Daoxuan's. So, what they were going to compete on was their cultivation of sword art. A core master of the Heartless Martial School said, "Leader, don't worry. Daoxuan's Heartless Sword Arts and the Heartless Sword Intent complement each other, which is way more powerful than a simple 60% sword intent." The leader of the Heartless Martial School nodded. Without this advantage, Daoxuan's chance of winning would not be more than 30%. Right now, he only has 50% chance of winning. 60% sword intent. It is indeed unexpected. I thought he would stop at the 5th or 6th place. It seems like he could still go up 1 or 2 places. Yan Qihua's eyebrows flicked, an interested look appearing in his eyes. Lin Yun, who was not far away, sneered. Right now, he thought only Yan Qihua could compete with him for the 2nd place. However, Yi Chen, who had revealed his 60% sword intent, had already made him feel the pressure. After battling with Sikong Sheng, he had revealed his biggest ace attack, and the others had more or less hidden ace attacks, so he had to be careful. Damn it! When these two were battling with me, they did not even use their full power. Mo Yen had suffered a huge blow, his fists tightened. Right then, the audience had already started to discuss. It is indeed Yi Chen who has the upper hand after all. Even Tua Baku had lost to him. Among the top 10 new stars, Yi Chen definitely deserves to be the number 1. Although Tua Baku is powerful, he had still lost to Yi Chen, and could only be ranked number 2. Right now, Yi Chen had beaten 3 top young warriors, Bing Ling, Mo Yen and Tua Baku. Without any surprises, Gu Yuyun would not be able to compete with him as well. Besides these 4, his next opponents would be Sikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, Li Daoxian, Lin Yun and Murong Qinqing. I wonder if he could continue to win all the battles. Yi Chen's dark horse status had shocked a lot of people. Since the beginning of the elimination competitions, he had not lost a single battle. No one knew how much power he had hidden, or how many ace attacks he had. All they knew was that each time he encountered a powerful opponent, he would reveal a bit of his real power, which was undoubtedly horrifying. The next battle would be Yan Qihua against Gu Yuyun. Gu Yuyun, who had the Stone King body protective fist art, was very powerful. Unfortunately, she was facing the number 1 blade artist, Yan Qihua. Yan Qihua's blade aura was extremely aggressive. With only 2 blade attacks, he had broken through his opponent's protective Zhen Qi layer. That overwhelming advantage had made a lot of people frown. Among the young generation, perhaps only Xikong Xing had the power to beat him. Whether or not Lin Yun could compete with him was still unknown. The 27th battle, Xikong Xing against Bing Ling. The battle continued quickly, and Xikong Xing got on the stage again. Bing Ling bit on her teeth. It was not her style to give up without a battle. Without any hesitation, she pushed all of her Zhen Qi and gathered it on her right arm, performing one of the ace attacks of the Ice Break Fist art, Ice Crystal Fist. Xikong Xing stood where he was without moving, waiting for Bing Ling's attack. Boom! The Ice Crystal Fist had been prepared. Bing Ling's speed had been pushed to its limit as she threw out a punch. Forming a fist with his left hand, Xikong Xing threw out a punch as well. The sky was filled with ice shards. Under Xikong Xing's Sky Tyrant Fist art, the Ice Crystal Fist had been shattered. The closer the dragon-shaped shadow got to 90 meters, the slower it grew. After devouring Bing Ling's Dragon Fountain Qi, it had only made Xikong Xing's dragon-shaped shadow grow to 24 meters, only 3 feet away from 90 meters. The 28th battle, Lin Yun against Murong Qinqing. Although there had been 9 battles between the top young warriors, there were only 3 that could be considered as the most important ones. One was Yan Qihua against Li Daoxian, one was Xikong Xing against Lin Yun, and the last one would be the battle right in front of them, Murong Qinqing against Lin Yun. Murong Qinqing was just like Yi Chen, she had not been defeated yet. The Sky Demon Great Art that she had trained had made most of the people feel helpless. Her defense was the shapeless Sky Demon Power Field, which was her territory. Her attacking methods were the Sky Demon Power Field and the Sky Demon Palm Print. With the combination of the two, even someone as powerful as Bing Ling would not be able to get close to her, and could only be attacked. And Lin Yun's power was not to be underestimated either. When he was battling with Xikong Xing, he had revealed his ace attack, which could kill any rank 6 tyrant beasts within a second. His power was definitely horrifying, and he had the power to compete for the top 3. In everyone's mind, his power was even more powerful than Murong Qinqing. The battle between the two had attracted a lot of attention. Chapter 274. Yi Chen had calculated countless times in his mind, and eventually had to shake his head. Between Murong Qinqing and Lin Yun, both of them would have a chance to win. However, it was hard to predict who would win. It was not because the two were equally powerful, but the biggest problem was Murong Qinqing's Sky Demon Great Art. As everyone knew, the Sky Flying Devil Martial School's Sky Devil Great Art was a very powerful and strange martial art. It didn't have any protective Zhen Qi, and its defensive method was the Sky Devil Power Field. The Sky Devil Power Field was invisible and intangible, and it needed to be driven by the Sky Devil Zhen Qi. Once the Sky Devil Power Field protected the body, it would be very difficult to break through it, which made it difficult for normal attacks to work, and the opponent often couldn't get close to it. If it were another opponent, Murong Qinqing would have a very high chance of winning. However, her opponent, Lin Yun, was just as powerful as her. His powerful attacking power could kill any rank 6 tyrant beast within a second, which had been proven during the battle with Xikong Xing. Therefore, even with Yi Chen's extremely sharp eyes, he could not tell who would have a higher chance of winning. He would only know after a battle. On the battling platform, Murong Qinqing, who was wearing purple robes, arrived in the air. Standing in front of her was Lin Yun, who was holding a black iron spear with burning qi. Lin Yun grinned and said, "Qinqing, it has been 3 years since we last fought. Your power has indeed surprised me. In my opinion, you definitely have the power to be ranked 5th or even 4th. However, if you want to be in the top 3, you are still 1 level away." Lin Yun's meaning was very clear. Although he had lost to Xikong Xing, but besides Sikong Shing, only Yan Chihua could threaten him. And Murong Qingqing's power was probably below the top 3. Within the top 5, she would not be able to win against him. He just did not want to say it out loud. Murong Qingqing said lightly, "Oh yeah? Why do I feel like I can win against you?" Asking you to give up is indeed too much. How about this? Within 10 attacks, if you can get the upper hand, I will give up automatically. Lin Yun forced a laugh. He did not know if Murong Qingqing did not understand him, or if she was just irritated. 10 moves, fine. Murong Qingqing did not speak anymore. Instead, she secretly activated her Heavenly Devil innate Qi, forming a circle of Heavenly Devil force field in an area of 30 feet around her. Heavenly Fire 4 Spears. Without using his ace attacks, Lin Yun had only used normal ace attacks to fight against Murong Qingqing. No matter whether he wanted to admit it or not, he did not think that Murong Qingqing would be able to win against him. Dark red flames erupted, and the air boiled like water. Immediately after, a spiral of flames spread out and rushed towards Murong Qingqing, who was dozens of meters away. Pop! The space around Murong Qingqing shook for a moment, and the airflow surged. Heavenly Devil Palm, annihilate! Stretching out her 5 fingers, Murong Qingqing sent out a palm print. Buzz! The flame pattern had been broken down, and Lin Yun's spear aura had been blocked. His speed had been reduced instantly. He did not panic at all as he stepped on the ground and cut into the incoming palm attack in a tricky and aggressive way. He continued to perform his Heavenly Fire 4 Spears ace attack, which was even more aggressive than before. However, his iron spear had lost control after the 3rd attack. Murong Qingqing, who was not far away, made a grabbing gesture with her right hand, drawing his spear aura to the side and throwing a palm attack back at him. Lin Yun did not dare to underestimate Murong Qingqing's palm power. His body shook once, and a flame shield appeared in front of him. The shield was thick and full of patterns. Sparks kept splashing out, and it looked like it was made of gold and stone. It was extremely heavy. Boom! The palm power that contained the Heavenly Devil power field had been blocked out by the flame shield, and Lin Yun was not injured at all. Heavenly Devil Palm Attack, Sky Blame. Murong Qingqing did not stop attacking as she threw out 4 palm attacks. The last one was the ace attack of the Heavenly Devil Palm Attack, Sky Blame. This attack was based on the reverse Heavenly Devil power field, creating a powerful repelling power that would blow away the locked objects in the space. Break! Lin Yun yelled as the flame around his body shot up into the sky. He waved his iron spear horizontally, battling against that powerful repelling power that was everywhere. He did not back out even one step. Lin Yun is indeed powerful. He could even fight against Murong Qingqing's power field. Murong Qingqing's martial art realm is 1 level lower, so it would be hard for her to perform the full power of the Sky Demon Great Art. Otherwise, Lin Yun would not be able to win this easily. The two were both testing each other. However, in everyone's eyes, Murong Qingqing had obviously fallen into a disadvantage. Even her Sky Demon Palm attack, which had always been successful, could not do anything to Lin Yun. Double Sky Blame. Murong Qingqing put her left hand on the back of her right hand. The repelling power had been doubled, and it had landed on Lin Yun's body within a second. Finally, it had blown him dozens of meters away, leaving a dark red trail in the air. Lin Yun was still in the air. He did not wait to land on the ground before he shot back like a flying dragon. He threw out a spear attack towards Murong Qingqing. It was indeed one of his ace attacks, the Skyfall attack. Once the spear attack had been thrown out, the sky and the ground had been shaken. Even the air around Murong Qingqing had been dyed dark red, as if the sky had been burnt red. The Sky Demon power field could not block out the burning heat. Murong Qingqing's body disappeared and reappeared in the sky within a second. She performed the Sky Demon catch with her left hand while attacking with the Sky Demon palm attack with her right hand. One positive and one negative, the other negative, had combined together. It had somehow dissolved Lin Yun's deadly attack. Sky Demon Strangle. It was not over yet. She twisted her left hand as the Sky Demon power field twisted, shattering the protective Zhen Qi layer outside of Lin Yun's body completely. 6 attacks had passed. Although Murong Qingqing had not gotten the upper hand, Lin Yun had not gotten the upper hand either. He could not help but look bad. He could not care less about the idea of holding back. He stomped on the ground, bringing up a fire wave. His body shot up into the sky, stabbing towards Murong Qingqing with his spear attack. It was still the Skyfall attack. This time, the Skyfall attack was extremely aggressive. The air had been pierced through by the spear attack, creating a black vacuum tunnel that extended all the way to Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon power field. The Sky Demon power field was disrupted for a while, which had backfired on the Zhen Qi inside Murong Qingqing's body. She put her tongue on top of her chin, trying to control her boiling qi and blood. She threw out a palm attack to block that incoming spear light. Boom! Thunder exploded. Murong Qingqing backed out a couple of steps. Lin Yun did not take the opportunity to attack. His opponent's extremely powerful palm attack had also made him lose control of his body. His body froze on the spot. Do you still want to keep fighting? Lin Yun held the spear with his right hand. The body of the spear was covered in a dark red flame, slowly accumulating at the tip. Landing on the ground, Murong Qingqing put on the low-rank great weapon, the gold silk glove. She said lightly, "Right now it has only been 7 attacks. It seems like you have not gotten the upper hand yet. Since that is the case, then I will defeat you within 3 attacks." As he spoke, the Zhen Qi that Lin Yun had poured into the iron spear suddenly increased. A walnut-sized fireball accumulated at the tip of the spear. The fireball kept spinning, its color getting darker and darker. Dark flame kill. When Lin Yun got serious, he was undoubtedly extremely horrifying. Once he had activated his 11th level martial art, flames shot out of his body, attacking towards Murong Qingqing like a human-shaped meteor. That iron spear that had accumulated the fireball had already been stabbed out 1 step ahead of him, its aura extremely aggressive. Murong Qingqing performed her Sky Demon Catch and Sky Demon Great Palm Print again. With the amplification of the gold silk gloves, her power field had been increased by more than 10%, blocking out Lin Yun's spear aura. Pop! The power field had been broken, and Lin Yun's spear aura had been slightly weakened. However, as Lin Yun poured in more Zhen Qi, a 12-meter-long spear light shot out, hitting onto Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon power field. The 9th attack. Lose. Lin Yun yelled, his iron spear cutting through the air like a hot knife through butter. Murong Qingqing's expression did not change. Suddenly, she did something shocking. Her left hand's 5 fingers were bent, trying to grab onto Lin Yun's iron spear. Her right hand was hidden behind her back. Invisible sharp blades kept shooting out from her fingertips, hitting onto the surface of the platform and making a swishing sound. Boom! The fireball on the iron spear exploded. The fire wave that reached into the sky covered both of them, creating a 30-meter-tall fire pillar. Lin Yun sneered. He knew the power of the fireball, which was a killing attack that was condensed with 20% of his Zhen Qi. Once it exploded, even people who were more powerful than him would be badly wounded, not to mention Murong Qingqing, who was slightly weaker than him. If there were no accidents, she would have been wounded already. However, what happened next had shocked him. Inside the fire pillar, Murong Qingqing's left hand was not damaged at all. In between her palm, there was a cluster of light black light moving. He was very familiar with that light. It was obviously the extremely condensed Sky Demon power field. The scattered Sky Demon power field was already very powerful, and it was unimaginable how powerful it would be when it was condensed. It was because of the condensed Sky Demon power field that Murong Qingqing was able to take on Lin Yun's ace attack without any damage. Otherwise, even with the protection of the gold silk gloves, her arm would have been broken by the explosive power. Right then, Lin Yun could not care about anything else. He knew that Murong Qingqing would definitely have a follow-up ace attack. If he did not make the first move, he would most likely lose. The center of his left palm was cracked open, and a stream of blood shot out, being wrapped up by the dark red flame. Lin Yun backed out quickly, throwing out his ace attack that he had used on Xikongxing. Shoo! The blood turned into a bloody spear tip, shooting out at an unimaginable speed. Break! Murong Qingqing waved her left hand, and the condensed sky demon power field landed on the tip of the bloody spear. She did not wait for the bloody flame to burn, and her whole body shot out into the air. The right hand that was hidden behind her back reached out horizontally. She opened her 5 fingers, and a new sky demon power field was born, condensing into an invisible blade shape, attacking towards Lin Yun, who was backing out. Power field cut. The fire shield had been broken, and Lin Yun could only watch his protective Zhen Qi layer being cut open. The sky demon power field that contained both positive and negative power had landed on his body. What? Puking out a mouthful of blood, Lin Yun flipped a couple of times in the air before landing heavily on the light wall. Right then, the blood firebreak had just exploded behind Murong Qingqing. The bloody flame burned the air, expanding rapidly in the wind. At the last moment, Murong Qingqing had turned the tables. Over at the audience seating, everyone could not believe their eyes. Lin Yun had lost to Murong Qingqing, who had just risen up in this year's Hidden Dragon rank, and he had lost under the condition that he had performed his ace attack. There was no mercy at all, which had really shocked them. Power field cut. I did not expect Qingqing's martial arts to have reached this level. The leader of the Sky Demon Martial School was in a great mood. The head disciple Mo Yen had already lost the chance to compete for the top 5, and the only hope was on Murong Qingqing. She had not disappointed him at all. Chapter 275. Arrogant piece of trash. Yan Qihua sneered. Even he did not dare to underestimate Murong Qingqing's power, so he had to treat it seriously. Otherwise, it would be possible for him to fail miserably. And the reason why Lin Yun had lost to Murong Qingqing was because he had underestimated Murong Qingqing's power. He did not take the battle seriously, and at the critical moment, it would be too hard to turn the tables. One wrong move and everything would be wrong. If Lin Yun did not limit himself with 10 attacks and put all of his focus into the battle, the result would still be unknown. Therefore, he had lost to himself. The leader of the Sky Fall Martial School looked extremely pale. Lin Yun's failure was completely out of his expectation. He had already thought about it before the battle. With Lin Yun's power, even if he could not get the first place, he would definitely be able to get the second or third place. Among all of them, only Xikongxing and Yan Qihua would be his opponents. Leader, there is still a chance for the third place. There is no need to get so angry. The headmaster of the Sky Fall Martial School let out a breath and tried to persuade him. I know. This battle will be a lesson for him. Do not underestimate the others. The ranking system of the Hidden Dragon rank was based on the points system, and it was quite common for people to have the same points. Therefore, Lin Yun still had the chance to get the third place, and maybe the second place as well. However, the chance was very low, since Yan Qihua's power was right there. Besides Xikongxing, no one would be able to beat him. Crawling up from the stage, Lin Yun puked out another mouthful of blood. It was not caused by his wounds, but by his anger. He had never thought that he would be defeated by Murong Qingqing one day. Thinking about what he had said to her before the battle, he could not think straight. He felt both humiliated and embarrassed. After devouring Lin Yun's dragon fountain qi, the dragon-shaped shadow on Murong Qingqing's body had expanded to 23 meters, which was only below Xikongxing, Yan Qihua, and Yi Chen, ranking 4th. Without saying anything to hurt his opponent, Murong Qingqing walked down the stage directly. The 64th round had ended and the 2-hour break began. Inside the training room, the leader of the Sky Fall Martial School said while healing Lin Yun, "You were too careless this battle. In the following battles, besides Yan Shihua, I want you to win all of them." "Leader, don't worry. If I have the chance to run into Murong Qingqing again, I will not be careless anymore." Lin Yun tightened his fists, blue veins popping out on his forehead. 2 hours later, the 65th round began. The first battle, Sikong Sheng against Gu Yuyun. Sikong Sheng and Gu Yuyun were not only disciples of the Floating Mountain Martial School, but they also had the king-level bloodline. One was the descendant of the Tsang King, while the other was the descendant of the Stone King. Unfortunately, the power gap between the two was way too huge. Otherwise, it would have been a crazy battle of king-level bloodline. "Sister disciple, you go first." Sikong Sheng reached out his left hand. Gu Yuyun nodded. She naturally knew about her head disciple's power, and it was definitely not something that she could handle. However, in the last 9 rounds of the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, no one had ever given up on their own. She did not want to break that rule. Plus, there were not many chances for her to exchange attacks with her head disciple. He would not be able to beat her with only one attack. He would at least show some respect to his fellow disciples. In front of Sikong Sheng, it would be a joke to talk about defense. Gu Yuyun rarely took the initiative to attack, and each of her attacks was extremely powerful. Sikong Sheng kept his right hand behind his back, using only one hand to receive the attack. He did not plan to beat his sister disciple right away, so he only used a small amount of power. After 30 attacks, Gu Yuyun stopped her attack and stood still. "Head disciple, thank you for teaching me. You have made great progress. I think you will be able to get into the top 3 in the next Hidden Dragon rank competitions." This year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions would be the most popular one. After this one, besides him, Yi Chen and Tua Baku, the others would all be over 24 years old. Plus, once he reached the astral reaching realm, the Hidden Dragon rank would only be an empty title, and he would not need to participate anymore. The Dragon Fountain Chi would not be able to increase anymore, so he might as well give it to the disciples of the Floating Mountain Martial School and let them fight for the endless luck for the school. The 7th battle, Bing Ling against Lin Yun. Losing to Murong Qingqing, Lin Yun looked even darker. Combined with the burning hot qi on his whole body looked like a beast hiding in the fire. Kill! Once the battle started, Lin Yun threw out his most powerful attacks towards Bing Ling's Sky Fire 4 spears, Sky Fall attack, and other ace attacks were performed continuously. The sky-covering flame almost lit up the entire battling platform. The flame shot up into the sky, spreading out in all directions. If it were someone else, they would have already lost under Lin Yun's crazy attacks. The good thing was that Bing Ling had trained the ice element Zhen Qi, which could suppress the fire element Zhen Qi under the same conditions. Although Lin Yun's martial arts were one level higher than hers, it would still be impossible for him to beat her easily. Looking from below the stage, the vast battling platform was covered in flames. In the center, there was a pile of ice and snow, which was protecting Bing Ling's body. Ice Crystal Fist. After taking a couple of heavy attacks from Lin Yun, Bing Ling used her most powerful ace attack. Her right forearm and fist were wrapped in ice crystals, attacking towards Lin Yun at 2 times the speed of sound. Dark Flame Kill. Lin Yun did not back out at all. A walnut-sized fireball had been accumulated on his iron spear, attacking towards Bing Ling's ace attack in a brutal manner. Boom! A burning mushroom cloud of flame rose up between the two, with ice shards splashing everywhere. The next second, blood leaked out from the corner of Bing Ling's mouth. She had lost to Lin Yun's ace attack. The 14th battle, Mo Yen against Murong Qingqing. After Sikong Sheng and Gu Yoyun's match, another pair of disciples from the same martial school had appeared. Mo Yen had lost to Tua Baku, Yi Chen, and Li Daoxian one after another, which had made his popularity drop again and again. He was now out of the top 8. At the same time, he was feeling the same pressure as Lin Yun, very bad. His handsome face looked a lot more hideous now. However, Murong Qingqing and Mo Yen were completely different. She was one of the top 2 beauties of the Black Dragon Empire, one of the top 2 warriors of the young generation in the South Rudra region. Even though she had lost the battle, her popularity was still the same. Plus, she had won 2 battles so far, and she had even beaten Lin Yun in the second battle. It had made her popularity even higher than Yi Chen. Different experiences had created different mentality. Facing Murong Qingqing again, Mo Yen had a very complicated expression on his face. Even he himself could not tell what was on his mind. Murong Qingqing said, "Head disciple, do your best. Alright, I will not go easy on you." Her calling him head disciple was very irritating to him, and her tone was not that good either. Murong Qingqing shook her head in her mind, and did not say anything else. Activating his sky demon eyes, a dark red light shot out of Mo Yan's pupils. It was like a diamond, extremely condensed. He groaned with a low voice as both of his hands threw out a couple of attacks, performing his normal ace attack, the sky hand attack. This attack had a huge coverage, which was the best one to confuse people. Shoo! Palm shadows filled the air. Mo Yan's body flashed once before appearing on the right side of Murong Qingqing. He pointed his finger at the weak spot of the sky demon power field. Murong Qingqing and Mo Yan knew each other very well, so she would naturally not be confused by the sky hand attack. She waved her right hand in the air, and the sky demon power field spread out along her palm, deviating Mo Yan's finger light. Mysterious Spirit 7 Finger. His body jumped up from the ground as Mo Yan performed his ace attack again. Sky Demon Palm Attack, Destruction, Sky Rebuke. Murong Qingqing did not dare to waste any time. She performed the 2 ace attacks of the Sky Demon Palm Attack with both of her hands, one to break the attack, and the other to attack. Moving like a ghost, Mo Yan avoided Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Palm Attack. Within a second, he threw out a dark purple finger light. That finger light was like lightning, shooting through Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon power field, aiming for the vital spot on her waist, which was impossible to defend against. Sky Demon Protective Strangulation. In that critical moment, Murong Qingqing used her body as the axis and spun in the air for 2 rounds. The Sky Demon power field outside her body twisted instantly, making that finger light fly past her body without hurting her at all. As she spun, Murong Qingqing did not stop attacking. She used the Sky Demon Catch with her left hand and the Sky Demon Palm Attack with her right hand. Both attacks were thrown out together, forcing Mo Yan to temporarily dodge and lose the chance to gain the upper hand. Demon Spirit Killing Finger. His feet lightly touched the surface of the platform as Mo Yan performed his ace attack. This finger attack had broken through Tua Baku's defense, and its attacking power was no weaker than Li Daoxuan's. Unfortunately, the previous 3 opponents had made him suffer a lot. Tua Baku's defense was too high, and Yi Chen was able to see through all of his attacks. Li Daoxuan's sword attacks were unpredictable, and it would already be great if he could defend against them, not to mention attacking. Right then, he had used it on Murong Qingqing instead. Murong Qingqing of course would not dare to underestimate Mo Yan. In fact, she suspected that this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition might be Mo Yan's nemesis, since all of the opponents he had run into were not good for him. Otherwise, there might be a chance for him to make it into the top 5. But on the other hand, adapting to the environment and laughing until the end was the basic quality of a powerful warrior. Mo Yan's failure had proven that he did not have that quality yet. Pooh! Facing that finger attack, Murong Qingqing had to perform her Sky Demon Power Field technique to break through that finger light. She then waved her right hand and a simple power field cut was shot out, cutting open Mo Yan's protective Jin Qi layer and leaving a wound on his shoulder. This attack was Murong Qingqing holding back. However, Mo Yen did not care at all and continued to attack. The demon spirit killing finger attacked towards Murong Qingqing's vital spot. Murong Qingqing frowned. Her body disappeared as she threw back 2 power field cut. At the same time, she performed her sky demon catch and caught Mo Yen, who was still trying to escape. They knew each other very well, so how could Murong Qingqing not know where he was going to escape to? Mo Yen did not look too good, but he did not attack again. The 21st battle, Yi Chun against Li Daoxian. It seemed like the head judge cared a lot about this battle. He stood up for the second time and announced the names of the two in person, his voice dragging out. Boom! The audience was shocked. They had waited so long for the battle between the top sword artists of the young generation. Without exaggerating, the battle between the two would basically decide who would be the #1 sword artist in the whole South Rudra region. Would it be Li Daoxian or Yi Chun? Li Daoxian was the head disciple of the Heartless Martial School with 60% sword intent. He had lost to the #1 blade artist Yan Qihua by half an attack. His power was obvious, and no one dared to underestimate him. Yi Chun was the new top young warrior, the leader of the top 10 new stars. He also had 60% sword intent. Added with his extremely powerful sword art and horrifying ability to see through weaknesses, he was highly respected. He was so popular that he was ranked in the top 4 of the top young warriors. The battle between the two top sword artists would be very exciting without even thinking about it. After all, sword artists were different from warriors. Their attacks were famous for their fast and accurate attack. Even a little bit of carelessness could cause one to lose. There would not be a situation where the battle would last for a long time. Chapter 276. On the vast battling platform, 2 human figures were standing hundreds of meters away from each other. On the left side of the battling platform, Li Daoxian was wearing a blue robe, with a long and narrow great sword hanging from his waist. The sword scabbard was simple and ancient, with a few patterns on it. On the right side, Yi Chun was standing straight, wearing a blue robe as well. He also had a great sword hanging from his waist. The scabbard was carved with star patterns, its color clear and deep. Since you have the 60% sword intent, then I do not have to worry about the unfair advantage. The level of the sword intent had nothing to do with the unfair advantage. If it were a normal sword artist, Li Daoxian would never tell him that if he did not have the sword intent, then he would not use the sword intent either. It would be very stupid. However, Yi Chun was different. Yi Chun's sword art realm was extremely high, and almost no one could compete with him in the young generation. Li Daoxian did not want to win the competition with his sword intent that was 10% higher than his opponent's, because he wanted to compete with Yi Chun's sword art realm. Right now, Yi Chun had also mastered the 60% sword intent. Therefore, the two were basically on the same level, and the competition would be the sword art realm. Yi Chun said, "That would be for the best. I also want to know how powerful my sword art realm is." Up until now, Yi Chun had not revealed all of his achievements in his sword art yet. It was either because his opponents were too weak and could not use it, or his opponents were different like Tuabaku. Therefore, if he did not find an equally powerful opponent, even Yi Chun himself would not be able to figure out his own sword art realm. Putting his right hand on the sword hilt, Li Daoxian stopped talking. His sharp eyes locked onto Yi Chun. Compared to the aggressive Yan Qihua, Yi Chun had given him more pressure. It was not that Yan Qihua was not as powerful as Yi Chun. In fact, even he could not see through Yan Qihua's power. However, Yan Qihua was a blade artist, which was different from a sword artist after all. However, Yi Chun was a sword artist who had mastered the 60% sword intent. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions only needed one #1 sword artist. Kill! Flashing his body, Li Daoxian had shortened the distance between him and Yi Chun to only 10 meters. His sword had been taken out of its scabbard. A cold beam of light with a shocking sword intent was thrown out. The air was like water, without any ripples. There was only one person and one sword left in the world. Yan Qihua, who was watching the battle, squeezed his eyes. This Yi Chen is indeed powerful. Facing him, Li Daoxuan's sword art realm had improved even further. His spirit, qi, and soul were condensed, showing signs of merging into one. Yi Chen's expression did not change. His right hand grabbed onto the hilt of his star-scar sword, which looked slow but was actually fast. He gently pulled it out. The dark-colored sword light was like a poisonous snake coming out of its cave, accurately pointing at the tip of Li Daoxuan's sword. The emotionless poetic perspective seemed to have no effect on him at all. Chin. The sword tips, which were filled with Zhen Qi, clashed together. Sparks flew everywhere, looking extremely bright. Why do I feel a bit numb? On the audience seating, a clasping Yuan realm warrior had goosebumps all over his body as he said with a shaky voice, "Me too. I heard that the battles between powerful sword artists would make the audience shiver. Today I can see that it is indeed the case. There is a huge difference between sword artists and blade artists. Blade artists need to be bold and powerful, and their blade aura would make people's blood boil. However, sword artists are the exact opposite. They try their best to beat their opponents with the smallest cost. They are good at killing with one attack, which is the sublimation of their technique. Therefore, they will leave a terrifying impression on people." It was an astral-reaching realm sword artist who was talking. While the audience was chatting, the battle on the battling platform had already reached its climax. Ding! 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 The sword lights spread out, clashing with each other sharply. Kill! Dozens of sword attacks had been blocked by Yi Chen in a row. Li Daoxian took 3 steps back. During the process, he shook his wrist, and a sword light that could cut through metal appeared on his longsword. The sword light seemed to be invisible, as if it could ignore the distance between them. It pointed right at Yi Chen, who was not far away. Pop! The sword light was shattered. It was shattered by an invisible sword light. After shattering the sword light, Yi Chen extended his body, his blue robe dancing in the air. He threw out a sword attack. The shocking sword speed made the sword light not have enough time to flash. Together with it, there was also that sword art poetic perspective that could confuse people's senses. 60% sword intent, lone peak kill. I cannot block it out. Li Daoxian was shocked. He closed his eyes and pushed his flying art to its limit, shooting out violently. No one knew why he had backed out so fast, because they could not feel the poetic perspective of the lone peak kill. Shoo! A stream of blood splashed out along the tip of the sword. Yi Chen stopped his step. Indeed, the lone peak kill with 60% sword intent is still a bit too powerful. It would not work on other sword artists at the same level. Yi Chen looked at Li Daoxian, who was 10 meters away. Li Daoxian had escaped from the poetic perspective and stopped immediately. However, there was a light sword mark on his face. This is the sword art that you had performed before. Li Daoxuan's confusion had been solved. During the knockout competitions and the ranking competitions, Yi Chen would occasionally perform the poetic perspective of the lone peak kill. He had been wondering what kind of poetic perspective it was, but now he finally understood. Yi Chen did not answer, but asked instead, "The battle between you and Yan Qihua was very interesting. Why don't you use all of your ace attacks on him?" The lone peak kill had been exposed and dodged by his opponent, but Yi Chen was not worried at all. The power of the movement did not lie in the movement itself, but in the person using it. The same movement would have different effects in different hands. That sword attack before was just a test, to test Li Daoxuan's bottom line. Next time, the lone peak kill would be used at the most appropriate time. Sky kill. Needless to say, Li Daoxian naturally knew what to do. He performed the sword movement that had beaten Mo Yen with only one sword attack. The sword light was hidden inside, spreading out everywhere. His whole body stepped on sharp steps, as if he had turned into a sharp sword, shooting towards Yi Chen. Break! Yi Chen's spirit, chi, and soul were extremely condensed. The star-scar sword in his hand was waved at an unimaginable speed. Within a second, he had thrown out at least hundreds of sword attacks. The invisible sword light had formed a layer of invisible sword net in front of him. His extraordinary style had made the eyes of some of the female disciples brighten up. Pop, pop. Just like Yi Chen had expected, Li Daoxuan's sky kill sword movement indeed contained two layers of power, one in the light and one in the dark. The sword attack in the light might look like a fake attack, but it could not be avoided. The sword attack in the dark would definitely kill with one attack, which was where Li Daoxuan's real body was. The two complemented each other, which was enough to kill warriors at the same level. Right now, the sword attack in the light had been broken, so Li Daoxuan's dark attack was coming right at Yi Chen's throat. Ting! A metal clashing sound was heard. Li Daoxuan's sword had been blocked out. It was also a sword that had blocked him. The sword light kept spinning, piercing through the air and chasing back. It stuck close to Li Daoxuan's sword body, attacking towards his palm. Li Daoxian frowned. Yi Chen's toughness had made him feel like he did not have enough power for the first time. When Yi Chen was breaking his attack, he did not release his lone peak kill poetic perspective. When his sword attack was broken halfway, the poetic perspective suddenly appeared, which slowed down his reaction speed by half a second. His sword's speed had been slowed down, and that half a second was enough for Yi Chen to use his sword to block and fight back. Moving sword steps. His feet were like swords and his body was like a ghost. Li Daoxuan's body moved away, avoiding Yi Chen's counterattack. Small sky-shattering clouds. Holding the sword with only one hand, Yi Chen's sword art style changed. Every movement contained thunder and lightning, and the wind and clouds started to gather. It contained an endless explosive power. It was like what he had thrown out was not a sword attack, but beams of lightning and clouds, not giving Li Daoxian any chance to breathe. Pooh! 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 The sword chi left cracks on the ground. Li Daoxian did not expect Yi Chen's style to change so quickly. It had completely messed up his own rhythm, and he kept performing his moving sword step. Earth explosion sky shock. Finding out Li Daoxuan's pattern of dodging, Yi Chen suddenly stomped on the ground. He performed the secret martial art that he had gotten from the Bloody Butcher a long time ago, the Earth Explosion Sky Shock. Although the rank of the Earth Explosion Sky Shock was not that high, and it would not be able to cause any real damage to his opponent, but its supportive effect could not be underestimated. As his Zhen Qi poured into the ground, the place where Li Daoxian had landed cracked open like a spider web. Not good. Without a choice, Li Daoxian took a deep breath in the air, forcefully stopping his falling body. Then his Zhen Qi exploded, barely avoiding the attack range of the Earth Explosion Sky Shock. Shoo! There was no way that Yi Chen would let go of this opportunity. He performed his separating shadow flying art. His body flickered, and he quickly appeared in front of Li Daoxian, throwing out a sword attack. Li Daoxian used his sword to block out the attack in an extremely uncomfortable position. He opened his left hand's 5 fingers, and a suction force appeared out of nowhere, trying to grab Yi Chen's body. Separate. All he managed to grab was Yi Chen's Zhen Qi shadow. Under the twisting suction force, it was shattered into pieces. Boom. After losing the opportunity to attack, Li Daoxian could no longer block out Yi Chen's sword attack. Under a dark sword light, his whole body was blown away, and his Zhen Qi layer had been shattered. With blood leaking out from the corner of his mouth, Li Daoxian looked extremely serious. While he was still in the air, he forcefully pushed his Zhen Qi and performed the sword step. He changed his original flying route and avoided Yi Chen's next sword attack. Dozens of meters away, Li Daoxian tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and shot out with his long sword in his hand. This is my killing sword attack. If you can block it, you win. After throwing out the sword attack, the air became even calmer. The sword light attacked towards Yi Chen at a speed that was faster than the human eye could see. If it was only this, it would not be enough to be called Li Daoxuan's killing attack. This sword attack seemed to have blocked out all the noises from under the stage. Indeed, this sword attack was called silence. It was one of the killing attacks of the heartless sword art. During the battle with Yanqihua, Li Daoxian had used this killing attack to cut off a strand of Yanqihua's hair. If it were not for the fact that he could not fully perform his silence attack, Yanqihua might not be able to win against him. Because the two of them had been fighting at such a fast speed, there were very few people who had actually noticed that sword attack. There were less than 5 or even less people among the young generation. All the noise disappeared, and there was no trace left in the air. It was like the sword light was no longer a sword light, but a part of the air. What a good silence attack! It is even more perfect than when he was fighting against me. Yanqihua was still a bit scared. Excluding the silence attack, Li Daoxian was still a bit weaker than him, so it would not be that hard for him to win. However, once the silence attack was used, even he could not react in time. He could only block and counterattack subconsciously. To win in the end, besides the achievement of his blade art realm, there was also a bit of luck. Otherwise, it would not be a strand of hair that was cut off, but an ear or even his head. The leader of the Heartless Martial School had made up his mind. The combination of the Heartless Sword Intent and the Heartless Sword Art would be much more powerful than the Sword Intent and Sword Art. Combined with this silence attack, the situation was starting to look better. So this attack is called silence? What a vivid name. Yi Chen stood where he was without moving. He stretched his body. As for Li Daoxian being able to cut off a strand of Yanqihua's hair, how could he not notice it? The reason why he had purposely suppressed his sword art realm was because he wanted to see the power of this attack and improve his own sword art realm. Chapter 277. Almost within a second, the sword light that Li Daoxian had thrown out had arrived in front of Yi Chen. The sword light did not have the slightest vibration. It was shaped like a crescent moon, and the tip of the crescent moon carried a thunderous power. It was impossible to describe how fast and sharp that sword attack was. Just as the sword light was about to reach Yi Chen made his move. He held the Star Scar sword tightly with both of his hands, waving it at a speed that was even faster than the sword light. Most of the people could not even see how he waved the sword, or what angle he had chosen. Seal. This sword attack was not about breaking, but about blocking. Li Daoxuan's sword light was way too fast and violent. 2 powerful sword attacks would not be able to block it in advance. Only the simplest fast sword poetic perspective would be able to do it. However, the power of the fast sword poetic perspective was way weaker than the Lone Peak Kill and the Sky Shattering Clouds poetic perspective. It only focused on speed, and aimed to perform the fastest sword art with the fastest reaction speed. Shoo! Countless sparks splashed everywhere. Because of the inertia, all of these sparks were shooting towards Yi Chen's direction, wrapping him up in the air. It was like a flower of fire was blooming towards him. It was unimaginably beautiful. Li Daoxuan's sword light had not disappeared yet. It started to bounce violently, as if it was trying to break through Yi Chen's blocking and give him a fatal attack. Ting! The Star Scar sword pulled back a little bit, but then attacked back at an even faster speed, hitting the same spot where the sword light had been. The sword light was broken with a sound that sounded like metal breaking. The next second, 2 beams of light, one on the left and one on the right, had cut out a deep mark on the platform behind Yi Chen, stretching for dozens of meters. Silent. It turns out that the power of the sword light was compressed to an extreme extent, cutting off its connection with the air and the outside world at the same time. Sound was transmitted through the air, so naturally it couldn't be transmitted in, creating a man-made silent world. Yi Chen's blocking was not for nothing. Through the vibration that came from the sword light and the star-scar sword when they clashed, as well as the feeling of his soul power, Yi Chen had discovered the secret of the silent attack in a very short period of time. However, knowing was one thing. Wanting to use this move out of thin air was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. For example, everyone knew that by compressing Zhen Qi to a certain degree, one could kill an astral-reaching realm warrior or even a Sea of Souls realm warrior. But no one had such a powerful control over it, since it would be even harder than becoming a life and death realm warrior. There were many simple mysteries in the world, but most of them were useless because ordinary methods could not be used at all. Therefore, techniques came into being. Skill could be described as a shortcut. It could make it easier for a martial artist to grasp some difficult things and do things that they could not do in the past. The silent killing move contained an extreme technique. Through this technique, the sword light could be compressed to the extreme, causing the speed and power to increase sharply, and killing silently. He blocked the sword? After performing his silent ace attack, Li Daoxian felt like all of his energy had been sucked out of him. Seeing that Yi Chen had blocked out that sword light without a scratch, he could not help but be shocked. However, before this shock could spread out, he saw that sword light had been cut in half. It had been cut in half. Slowly letting out a breath, Yi Chen smiled and said, "This sword attack is very powerful. Unfortunately, it is not perfect yet. Otherwise, I would not be able to break it." The sword light that was condensed like steel was extremely tough. Even Yi Chen could not cut it in half at once. He could only do it twice, since he did not have Mo Yan's sky demon eyes, which allowed him to see the weaknesses with his eyes. In fact, if it were Mo Yan, he would not be able to do anything either, since his reaction speed would not even be half of Yi Chen's. Regardless, the silent killing move was indeed a killing move. If it could be perfected in the future, if Yi Chen wanted to block it out, he would have to learn the fast sword poetic perspective to the extreme. "I have lost. You are indeed powerful. You can compete with Yan Qihua." Li Daoxian knew that Yan Qihua was still holding back some of his power. Being able to cut off a strand of his hair might have been due to luck. Yi Chen being able to take on the silent killing move without being hurt meant that he could compete with Yan Qihua. A dragon roar was heard. The dragon-shaped shadow outside Yi Chen's body had devoured Li Daoxuan's dragon fountain qi, and had grown again. It was now 23 meters tall, looking very majestic. Right then, the audience had already started to discuss. Beating Li Daoxian, Yi Chen would be the #1 sword artist among the young generation in the whole South Rudra region. What a surprise! Indeed. Right now, even Li Daoxian had lost to Yi Chen. Who would be the next one? Would he beat his opponent, or would he stop his winning streak? In everyone's eyes, Yi Chen had turned from a dark horse into a super dark horse. He had managed to get into the top 10 from the elimination competitions, and it was not over yet. Right now, he had already beaten 4 top young warriors. Gu Yuyun, who had not fought with him before, would definitely not be his opponent. Then, there were still Xikong Xing, Yan Qihua, Lin Yun and Murong Qinqing. No matter who he beat, it would make his reputation even brighter. Even if he lost, he would at least be ranked 5th in the Hidden Dragon rank, which was not something that normal people could fight for. The leader of the Heartless Martial School side. Even Li Daoxian had lost to Yi Chen in this kind of condition. What else could he say? The #1 young sword artist in the whole South Rudra region would have nothing to do with the Heartless Martial School anymore. But it was good for him. Without competition, there would be no motivation. After this battle, Daoxian might be able to reach the next level. He is indeed a powerful opponent. Yan Qihua had never looked so serious before. Yi Chen was way too sharp. If he did not use all of his power, he would most likely lose. The good thing was that this battle had allowed him to see a lot of things, and he had a better understanding of Yi Chen's bottom line. "Li Daoxian, you have helped me a lot," Yan Qihua thought to himself. The 33rd battle, Yan Qihua against Tua Baku. Compared to the battle for the number 1 young sword artist, the battle between Yan Qihua and Tua Baku had also attracted everyone's attention. Although Tua Baku had lost to Yi Chen, everyone knew that with his powerful defense, it would be hard for Yi Chen to beat him completely in a real battle. Great! Another powerful one. That rich Jin Qi was quickly hidden inside his body, sticking to the surface of Tua Baku's skin. It looked like a layer of dark blue light membrane. An excited look flashed through his eyes as he threw out his ruin 18-fist art. Chin. Yan Qihua took out his long blade, which was covered in a red flame. That fire element Jin Qi had condensed into a flame that was different from Lin Yun's. It seemed to be purer and more powerful. As Yan Qihua threw out a blade attack, the area in front of him had been sliced open. Boom! Tua Baku's fist aura had not been pushed to its limit before it was broken by that blade attack. That aggressive flame drowned Tua Baku within. Dragon World. The flame was broken open, and Tua Baku shot out from within. He threw out a killing attack in the air, and that massive dragon-shaped chi swallowed Yan Qihua, who was not far away. Chapter 278. Crack. The burning hot blade light flashed once, and the dragon-shaped chi was cut in half. Yan Qihua flew out from the crack and threw out 8 blade attacks towards Tua Baku. The 8 blade lights were extremely powerful, without any pattern. They were like 8 wild horses that had escaped from their reins, making it hard for people to predict where they would land. Boom! 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 Tua Baku had dodged 5 of the blade light, but he could not avoid the other 3 no matter how hard he tried. He had to take it head-on. He roared and his body flew backward while throwing out an uppercut punch towards Yan Qihua. Of course, it was not a normal uppercut punch. Under Yan Qihua's feet, a dragon-shaped chi appeared out of nowhere and blew him into the sky. That sharp claws and teeth had almost torn apart his protective Jin Qi layer. All of the people watching the battle could not help but be shocked. That attack did not seem to be that powerful, but it was extremely hard to defend against. They did not expect that Tua Baku would still have another attack, but they did not know why he did not use it on Yi Chen. Tua Baku, who had landed on the ground, made a face. Of course, he wanted to use it on Yi Chen. But he had never fought with Yi Chen before, so he did not know how powerful he was. It would not be easy to lock onto his body. Up until now, no one had managed to touch Yi Chen's body. In his opinion, the scariest thing about Yi Chen was not anything else, but that insanely powerful control. Trying to play tricks with him, he would definitely kill you. Fire Dragon Cut. Standing in the sky, Yan Qihua threw out a blade attack. That fiery red blade chi exploded in the air, turning into a sharp fire dragon, attacking towards Tua Baku. Tua Baku lifted up his palm that had turned dark blue and pressed onto the head of the fire dragon. That powerful palm power had slapped the fire dragon until it cracked open. Break! As the palm power was pushed out, the fire dragon had been shattered. Flame Cut! Seizing this slight opportunity, Yan Qihua appeared in front of Tua Baku within a second. He waved his long blade upwards, not only blowing away Tua Baku, but also shooting out a bright red flame that landed on Tua Baku's body, bringing up a rain of fire. Tua Baku did not dare to waste any more time as he endured the flame and threw an uppercut punch at Yan Qihua. Learning from experience, Yan Qihua had long been prepared for this move. He held his saber in a reverse grip and struck the ground with blazing flames. Rumble! The dragon-shaped chi and the saber aura collided and finally dispersed. Let's see how you block this blade. The long blade stabbed into the platform, but Yan Qihua did not pull it out right away. Instead, he pushed his wrist and opened up a blade mark on the ground. That sky-reaching blade light had blown Tua Baku hundreds of meters away. He landed heavily on the dark blue light wall, bringing up a series of ripples. However, before that, Tua Baku had also returned an attack. That powerful fist power had landed on the surface of his protective Zhen Qi layer, which had boiled up Yan Qihua's qi and blood. The winner had been decided. Tua Baku had lost this battle, but he himself was only slightly wounded. His insane defense had once again amazed everyone. The 65th round of battles had ended. After resting for an hour, the 66th round began. In this round of battles, the top 4 young warriors were Bing Ling, Gu Yuyun, Yan Qihua, and Mo Yin. Bing Ling against Gu Yuyun, and Yan Qihua against Mo Yin. Gu Yuyun's power was still a bit weak. Even though she had the Stone King's top martial art, the Stone King body protective fist art, it was still hard for her to block out Bing Ling's ice break fist art. After exchanging more than 30 attacks, she was beaten by Bing Ling with only one punch. As for the battle between Yan Qihua and Mo Yin, there was no suspense at all. It ended with Yan Qihua's complete victory. However, the 18th battle was very eye-catching. The contestants were the super-popular Murong Qingqing and Li Daoxian, who had lost to Yi Chen. Right then, the battle had already entered the most crucial moment. The winner would be decided within a second. Silent Sword. Facing Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Power Field and Sky Demon Great Palm Print, Li Daoxian was having a hard time. No matter how powerful his sword art was, or how powerful his sword intent was, it was still hard for him to break through Murong Qingqing's defense. If it was not being messed up by the Sky Demon Great Palm Print, then he would be hit by that horrifying power field cut. Without exaggeration, Murong Qingqing was definitely the most troublesome warrior to deal with among the young generation. Because no matter if it was Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, or even Yi Chen, they were all battling with real martial arts. Battling styles like the Sky Demon Great Art were really rare. After battling for a long time, Li Daoxian found a flaw in Murong Qingqing's defense and performed his silent ace attack. Pooh! Murong Qingqing's reaction speed was not that crazy after all. Before he could perform his power field cut, he had already been hit by the sword light. The protective Sky Demon Power Field was twisted, and Murong Qingqing's face went pale. His body backed out for a couple of steps. What was worth noting was that the sword light had not used all of its power yet. In that critical moment, Murong Qingqing had used the twisting power of the protective Sky Demon Power Field to divert the sword light, making it go past his shoulder. Otherwise, under that sword attack, he would not just be looking pale, he would at least be badly wounded. No need to fight anymore. I have lost. Although he was not wounded this time, it did not mean that he would be able to next time. So, Murong Qingqing gave up right away. Li Daoxian let out a breath and forced a smile. I really do not want to battle with you. The top 2 martial arts of the Sky Demon Martial School had always been famous for their toughness. For example, Mo Yan's Sky Demon art, after training the Sky Demon eyes, he would be able to see the weaknesses of his opponent. However, in Mo Yan's hands, it did not seem to be able to bring out its full power. And then there was the Sky Demon Great Art. This martial art's unique Sky Demon Power Field was even more difficult to deal with than the Sky Demon eyes. Within a radius of 10 meters, the whole area would be covered by the power field. Plus, the user could use the power of the Sky Demon Power Field through his palm to reach a very far distance. It was a nightmare for normal warriors. The 24th battle, Yi Chen against Lin Yun. The 4th pair of top young warriors was indeed Yi Chen and Lin Yun. Lin Yun had lost to Murong Qingqing more or less because of his carelessness. If he had not used 10 attacks to limit himself, he would not have been able to use all of his ace attacks in a hurry, which had allowed Murong Qingqing to turn the tables in such a short time without any chance to fight back. Of course, whether or not Lin Yun had more power than Murong Qingqing, Yi Chen did not care too much. Under the same conditions, Lin Yun would not be a threat to him at all. It was not only because of the difference in cultivation, but also because Yi Chen was not afraid of people like Lin Yun. Let's do it. With the Star Scar sword in his hand, Yi Chen and Lin Yun stood 100 meters apart. Lin Yun looked very gloomy. Losing to Murong Qingqing had made him more cautious. However, Yi Chen had given him a lot of pressure. Before the last 9 battles, he had never considered Yi Chen as a real opponent. He thought that Yi Chen was just SOSO. Beating Li Daoxian is not that big of a deal. Just lose. The Sky Fall attack required the Sky Fire 4 spear to store up its power. Lin Yun held the iron spear in his hand and threw it out. The red flame rushed towards Yi Chen, turning into layers of fire waves in the air. Ignoring the aggressive fire waves, Yi Chen extended his body and rushed towards the fire waves. Midway, he took out his Star Scar sword. A dark sword light flashed once before disappearing, separating the fire waves. Chapter 279. Clang. Sparks shot up into the sky. Lin Yun's Sky Fall attack, which he had been waiting for, had been broken apart by Yi Chen with one sword attack. It was just when he had used up all of his previous power. With one sword attack, Yi Chen jumped into the air. The Star Scar sword in his hand was extremely powerful and full of explosive power. That intense sword light was like thunder and lightning, like an ocean of clouds. Every movement and movement gave people the feeling that it was unstoppable. Damn! Dark flame kill. Lin Yun was shocked and angry at the same time. He had not expected that Yi Chen would change his battling style and become so aggressive. In the previous battles, he was obviously the type of person who would counter attacks as they came, and rarely took the initiative to attack. Seeing that his battling rhythm had been completely broken, Lin Yun did not even have the chance to perform his ace attack. Without a choice, he replaced his iron spear with his left hand, accumulating an egg-sized dark red fireball and attacking towards Yi Chen. In fact, Yi Chen right now was the real Yi Chen. He was full of attacking power, showing off his power and cutting through all kinds of obstacles. Any opponent that was in his way would be cut down by his sword without any hesitation. But before that, he had wanted to learn something from the others to enrich himself. That was why he had hidden his power and countered attacks as they came. Right now, these experiences were more or less enough. As for the few people who had not fought against each other before, they did not need to compete with each other. After all, up until now, everyone had exposed all of their ace attacks. They had seen everything that they needed to see, and there was not much that they needed to think about. The fireball exploded violently, bringing up the chi everywhere. Shadow explosion. Countless overlapping shadows exploded. Yi Chen's real body flashed once, avoiding the exploding range of the fireball. He appeared on the right side of Lin Yun. He slightly shook his wrist, and that thunder-like sword light poured out. Each sword attack seemed to have been measured perfectly, and each attack was deadly. Pooh! 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 Lin Yun's protective Zhen Qi layer had been weakened to only a thin layer, which made him shocked. He was different from Tua Baku, who had put most of his Zhen Qi on his skin, so his protective Zhen Qi layer was not that powerful. However, Lin Yun was the exact opposite. His protective Zhen Qi layer had definitely reached the 11th level of his martial art, which was very powerful. However, under Yi Chen's continuous sword light, it was showing signs of breaking down. How could he not be shocked? Fire Essence Shield. More burning Zhen Qi poured out, forming into a shield shadow made of flames in front of Lin Yun. The shield shadow was thick and heavy, covered in patterns. Because of the intense Zhen Qi pressing against each other, clear sparks kept shooting out of the surface of the shield. Bang! The sword light was finally repelled by the fire elemental shield, unable to advance any further. Quick sword. His footwork was unpredictable. Yi Chen took a step forward and got close to him. The Star Scar sword in his hand moved at a speed that could not be seen by the naked eye. Dang! The shield shadow had been blown away, and the sword light was extremely sharp, pointing right at Lin Yun's chest. You are too much! Lin Yun was furious. Since the beginning of the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, There had never been anyone who could not even give him a chance to attack. The anger in his heart grew as he performed the Sky Fall Great Art of the Sky Fall Martial School. A total of 5 shield shadows were formed outside of his body, blocking all of the blind spots. Yi Chen's eyebrows flicked as he changed his sword movement from the quick sword to the lone peak kill. The poetic perspective of his 60% sword intent spread out, covering the area where Lin Yun was standing. I do not believe that you can break through my fire yuan shield. Under the influence of the poetic perspective of the lone peak kill, Lin Yun's reaction speed had obviously slowed down a bit. Right then, he did not have the time to dodge. His right palm cracked open, blood splashing out. He was ready to take on Yi Chen's attack head-on, and at the same time, give him a fatal attack. Shoo! What was out of Lin Yun's expectation was that Yi Chen had backed out without any warning. It made Lin Yun feel depressed, as if he had just punched into the air. Even the blood fire break that he had been cultivating in his hand had almost been shattered. But right then Yi Chen, who had backed out for dozens of meters, threw out another attack. Sky-shattering clouds. Holding the sword with both of his hands, Yi Chen's clothes danced in the air as he threw out a sword attack. Lin Yun's face looked extremely hideous. The blood on his right hand had condensed into a bloody spear tip. As he waved his right hand, the spear was shot out. Burning flames shot up into the sky. Thunder and lightning were mixed together, and the wind was roaring. The 2 completely different ace attacks had been combined together. Any clasping Yuan realm warriors who touched it would be killed instantly. Break! The ace attacks had cancelled out each other. Yi Chen's body had exploded again. Dozens of shadows flew towards Lin Yun. All of a sudden, Lin Yun could not even tell which one was Yi Chen's real body and which one was the Zhenqi shadow. Without a sound, a sword stabbed into the gap between the fire yuan shield and landed on Lin Yun's shoulder, bringing up a stream of blood. What a powerful attack! First, he had used up Lin Yun's ace attack. Then he had killed him with one attack, leaving him no chance to fight back. Li Daoxian took a deep breath as he thought to himself, "Pap." The leader of the Sky Fall Martial School had a bad look on his face. The armrest of his chair had been cracked by his grip. This brat is indeed cunning. Right next to him, the headmaster of the Sky Fall Martial School did not know what to say. He could only say this after a long while. The leader of the Sky Fall Martial School sneered, but did not say anything. After devouring Lin Yun's dragon fountain chi, the dragon-shaped shadow on Yi Chen's body had expanded to an unprecedented height. It reached 25 meters, catching up with Yan Qihua and Xikongsheng. "You!" Lin Yun looked down at the tiny sword hole on his shoulder. He still could not believe that he had lost, and he had nowhere to vent his anger. On the judge's seat, all of the judges looked at each other and announced Yi Chen as the winner of the battle. Next was the battle between Xikongsheng and Tuabaku. Tuabaku's power was among the top of the young generation, but his opponent was Xikongsheng, the king warrior of the young generation of the South Rudra region. If his attacking power did not reach Yan Qihua's level, he would not even have the right to challenge him. So, he had lost the battle without any surprise. The 67th round, the first battle, Murong Qingqing against Yi Chen. Once the 67th battle began, the audience started to get excited. Murong Qingqing and Yi Chen were both very popular among the young generation. Judging only based on popularity, they could be ranked in the top 3. Adding their equally powerful power, it was no doubt that the audience was looking forward to it. On the battling platform, Murong Qingqing was wearing a purple robe with a light veil over her face. Her body was slim, and her pitch-black pupils were like 2 bright stars, making people unable to move their eyes away. On the other side, Yi Chen was wearing a blue robe, with a long sword hanging on his waist. He looked calm and elegant, as if he was standing alone in the world. At this moment, everyone was stunned by what they saw. Murong Qingqing revealed a light smile. "I have not seen you for more than a year. I did not expect you to have improved this much. Winning all the battles, I am afraid that even I would not be able to beat you." It would be a lie to say that she was not surprised. Back in the Three-River City of the Spirit Nation, Yi Chen was only an early clasping Yuan realm warrior, and his sword intent had only reached entry level, which was the same as Wei Renjie. But after not seeing each other for more than a year, his sword intent had not only reached 60%, but his sword art and personal cultivation had also increased drastically, reaching an unimaginable level. It had even made Xing, who had always been quiet, curious. "It is just a matter of personal experience," Yi Chen said. Murong Qingqing nodded. "Then let's begin." Looking serious, Murong Qingqing immediately pushed her Sky Demon power field. Her left hand performed the Sky Demon catch, while her right hand attacked with the Sky Demon palm. Facing Murong Qingqing's attack, Yi Chen's body flashed, avoiding the Sky Demon catch. At the same time, his Star Scar sword was taken out of its scabbard. The sharp sword Qi clashed with Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon palm. The sword Qi had been shattered, but Murong Qingqing frowned. In her sight, Yi Chen had performed the separating body art that he had used to beat Lin Yun. His clones were everywhere, stacking on top of each other, making it hard to tell which one was the real one. Sky Demon Strangle. Both of her hands attacked in the air. Murong Qingqing activated her Sky Demon power field and twisted it slightly. Pop, pop, pop. At least 10 Zhenqi shadows had been shattered by the Sky Demon power field, clearing out a huge area. But what welcomed her next was a sword light that was as powerful as thunder in the sky. It landed heavily on the protective Sky Demon power field, bringing up waves of ripples and boiling her qi and blood. Power field cut. Murong Qingqing moved her hand as she threw out a power field cut towards where the sword light was coming from. It contained both the positive and negative Sky Demon power field, which was extremely horrifying. It had torn apart the surface of the platform, leaving a deep mark that spread out in a straight line. Swoosh! Another Zhen Qi shadow had been cut into pieces. Lone Peak Kill. Yi Chen's real body appeared 10 meters away from Murong Qingqing, right next to the Sky Demon power field. He did not care about the effect of the Sky Demon power field as he flipped his wrist and stabbed in with his Star Scar sword with a determined posture. His poetic perspective covered his opponent perfectly. Who? The sword Qi and the Sky Demon power field clashed against each other. The ripples that were created spread out, affecting on both Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing. Murong Qingqing's face turned pale. That second, her reaction speed had been affected, and she did not manage to launch the counterattack at the right time. Instead, she had been attacked by her own Sky Demon power field, which had only wounded her slightly. Meanwhile, Yi Chen had already backed out a bit, so he had only taken some of the remaining ripples of the power field. With only 60% sword intent, it was naturally impossible to break through Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon power field. Yi Chen used his separating shadow flying art to stay 10 meters away from Murong Qingqing. He kept performing his Lone Peak Kill and Sky Shattering Clouds, trying to break the stability of the Sky Demon power field and not give his opponent a chance to breathe. After dozens of attacks, Murong Qingqing's face was getting paler and paler. People had always said that the Sky Demon Great Art was hard to deal with, but no one knew how hard it was for Yi Chen. He had gotten the upper hand, and she did not even have the chance to fight back. Right now, she could feel what Lin Yun was feeling. After another 10 attacks, Murong Qingqing said, "There is no need to fight anymore. I have lost." Hearing her, Yi Chen put his Star Scar sword back into its scabbard and backed out 10 steps. "Thank you." Yi Chen's victory was expected, but it was also unexpected. No one had expected that Yi Chen, who was full of attacking power, would be this powerful. The Sky Demon power field that even Lin Yun and Li Daoxian could not handle had been broken down by him. Head disciple, this guy is too hard to deal with. Right next to Xikong Sheng, a core disciple from the floating mountain martial school, frowned and said. The expression on Sikong Shing's face was very calm, without any change. He said lightly, "His battling experience is not bad. Unfortunately, in front of absolute power, all of this would be meaningless." In his eyes, Yan Qihua could only make him a little bit more serious, and would not pose any threat to him. As for Yi Chen, he was just like Yan Qihua, maybe even weaker. Chapter 280. After Yi Chen had beaten Murong Qinqing, in the battles between the top young warriors, Mo Yen had used his Sky Demon Eyes to break through Gu Yuyun's Stone King Body Protective Fist art. He had won the first victory in the last 9 battles, which had saved a lot of face. Right after that, Bing Ling, who had performed all of her ace attacks, had lost to Tua Baku, who had a powerful defense. What was worth noting was that Bing Ling's ace attack, the Ice Crystal Fist art, was getting better and better. It was not easy for Tua Baku to win. Right now, it was Sikong Shing versus Li Daoxian. On the battling platform, Li Daoxian kept performing his sword step art, trying his best to avoid Sikong Shing's powerful fist power. Waiting for the opportunity, he pushed his sword intent to its limit. The sword light shone brightly, and the sword chi was extremely sharp, cutting towards Sikong Shing's protective Jin Qi at an extreme speed. River Tyrant Fist. With his right hand still behind his back, Sikong Shing turned his left hand into a fist and threw out a punch. The powerful fist power directly caused the air to ripple like a tide. Pop, 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 pop. The sword chi was broken, but the power of the fist did not dissipate. It brushed past Li Daoxuan's flying figure and heavily hit the dark blue light screen. The light screen swelled outwards as if it couldn't withstand the force and was about to explode. What level of fist force is this? The ceiling light screen is about to explode. The audience was silent. After a long time, someone said in a trembling voice, "The strength of the ceiling light wall is equivalent to an early astral reaching realm warrior's protective Jin Yuan layer, so it is not likely to be broken." However, Sikong Shing's fist power is indeed horrifying. Even the most normal protective Jin Yuan layer is not something that normal clasping Yuan realm warriors can break. He's too far ahead of the younger generation. The dark blue light wall on the edge of the battling platform was called the stage ceiling light wall. Although it had nothing to do with Jin Yuan, its defensive power was not weaker than the protective Jin Yuan layer. In the past 1,000 years, no one had ever heard of anyone being able to break through the light wall directly. Even the light wall had barely been shaken. Naturally, no one believed that Sikong Shing would be able to break through the light wall. However, judging from the previous situation, Sikong Shing's fist power had obviously reached the limit of the light wall. He's too strong. Every move he makes has such power. How are we supposed to block him? I guess Sikong Shing has not used all of his power yet. Otherwise, this light wall might not be able to handle it. The young generation was shocked as well. Only the disciples from the floating mountain martial school were full of pride. Once their head disciple became the number 1 disciple of the hidden dragon rank again, they would be able to enjoy the benefits as well. Even a little bit of that endless luck would be able to save them years of hard work. Silent Sword. Pushing his sword step to its peak, Li Daoxian crossed hundreds of meters and appeared on the right side of Sikong Shing, throwing out a sword attack without a sound. The sound coming from outside was cut off immediately, and the whole world became silent. Only a soul-stirring sword light was left, shooting towards Sikong Shing like lightning. Silent killer move, it is worth it for me to use my right hand. His body shook slightly. Sikong Shing did not make any movement, but he had already turned around, facing Li Daoxian. His right hand reached out from his back and clenched in the air. The calm air suddenly tightened up, as if it had left the whole world and become one with itself. Under this terrifying tightening force, the speed of the sword light rapidly slowed down. In the end, it became visible to the naked eye, and the sword chi was dense. Fist World. The clothes on his body fluttered without any wind as Sikong Xing threw out a fist attack. Crack! When the sword light was less than 5 meters away from Sikong Xing, it shattered into thousands of pieces, splashing everywhere. Then, it shot back like a hornet returning to its nest. Light dots fell like rain. Li Daoxian flashed again and again. Each time he stopped, it would not be longer than a second. However, there were just too many broken sword lights. His shoulders, legs, and arms had all been scratched by the light dots, causing blood to spill everywhere. Sikong Xing stood with his hands behind his back. You are quite powerful. Your silent ace attack has gotten a bit more powerful. Sealing the acupuncture point to stop the bleeding, Li Daoxian lifted up his head and said, Among the young generation, you are indeed the most powerful warrior I have ever seen. I heard that after this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions, you will be going to other regions to train. Indeed. In the South Rudra region, I could not feel any pressure anymore. Only by leaving the South Rudra region and seeing the top martial geniuses from other regions would I be able to train even faster. Sikong Xing had planned for this a long time ago. Although his training speed was the number one in the whole South Rudra region, and no one could compete with him, it would still be extremely hard for him to reach the life and death realm. It should be known that within the same generation, there would rarely be more than 3 people who could reach the life and death realm. So, it was not hard to imagine how hard it would be. In the next year or two, he would go to another region. The dragon fountain qi on his body was being devoured by Sikong Xing's dragon-shaped shadow. Li Daoxian put away his longsword and said, I have a feeling that this year's Hidden Dragon rank will not end so easily. I will end it without any suspense. Sikong Xing's tone was very calm, but it contained an unimaginable confidence. The 67th round, the 35th battle. Yan Qihua against Lin Yun. Sky Fall attack. Fire Dragon cut. The Zhen Qi that the two had trained was slightly different, but they were both fire element Zhen Qi. The fire element Zhen Qi was famous for its aggressive power. Each of its movements was extremely powerful, bringing up flames everywhere. Shooting star step, wave treading kill. His body was like a shooting star, fast as lightning. Lin Yun performed his ace attack that was just as famous as the dark flame kill, the wave treading kill. A burning spear attack was shot out along with the endless fire wave. Flame cut. Earth crack cut. Yan Qihua did not back out at all. He threw out a blade attack to block the tip of the spear. He then stabbed his long blade into the ground, slicing upwards, bringing up an even more horrifying firelight. Boom! Lin Yun's 11 Sky Fall Great Art had been pushed to its limit, forming layers of fire yuan shields around his body. The fire yuan shields were thick and heavy, blocking out Yan Qihua's killing blade attack. You have underestimated me. Lose. Gold Flame cut. After the Earth Crack cut, it was an even more powerful ace attack. The blade was covered in flames, and its color had changed from red to gold red. It had burned the air around it into nothingness, turning it into a vacuum world. Without a sound, the bright gold blade light shot out horizontally. It had been accelerated to its limit in the vacuum state, brutally attacking on Lin Yun's fire yuan shield. It was as fast as lightning. Boom! A loud explosion was heard. Lin Yun could not stop his body. He was blown backward along with that burning fire wave. The fire yuan shield around his body had been completely shattered, leaving nothing behind. Damn it! Blood flame break! There were too many bleeding places on his body. Lin Yun waved his hand in the air, and a huge amount of blood gathered into a pile. Under the burning flame, it turned into a blood-colored spear tip that was as long as a forearm. It broke through the air and shot out at an extremely fast speed, leaving a bloody red light on its tail. Second kill Gold Flame cut. Yan Qihua did not dare to underestimate the power of the blood flame break. He backed out with a strange footwork. As he was backing out, the long blade in his hand suddenly performed its ace attack, clashing onto the tip of the blood-colored spear. A golden-red flame mushroom cloud rose up in the air. The ceiling light wall around the stage expanded a couple of times, looking like a bloated stomach that was constantly shrinking. Shattering the hard platform with one foot, Yen Qihua stabilized his body. The long blade in his hand that was covered in flames pointed at the ground as he opened his mouth. "Lin Yun, you are still far from it." Lin Yun was furious inside as he sneered. "If it were a life-and-death battle, I might not lose to you. The extreme power of the blood flame break is not just this powerful. If you have lost, then you have lost. What are you talking about? In a life-and-death battle, you might not even have the chance to talk anymore." Along with Yen Qihua's aggressive aura, the dragon-shaped shadow jumped directly at Lin Yun, devouring his dragon fountain qi to replenish its own power. Yen Qihua is indeed not to be underestimated. He has broken Lin Yun's fire yuan shield from the front. This attacking power is extremely horrifying. Right now, there are only 3 people who still have an undefeated record. They are Xikong Sheng, Yen Qihua, and Yi Chen. The 3 of them will have a battle for sure. I wonder what the result will be. As the battle was coming to an end, the audience knew that the most intense battle was about to begin. They could not control their excitement anymore. The next battle had ended, and the 67th round had come to an end. It was already the 68th round. This round did not have much of a challenge for Yi Chen. His opponent was Bing Ling. After dozens of exchanges, Bing Ling had to admit defeat again. The battle in front of him was between Murong Qingqing and Yen Qihua. Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Sky art was extremely hard to deal with. Yen Qihua could not break through her defense all of a sudden. Plus, his movement art and skills were not as good as Yi Chen's, so he could not gain the upper hand from the beginning to the end. He could only use his powerful frontal battling power to exchange attacks with Murong Qingqing. Gold flame cut. Flames were everywhere as Yen Qihua threw out 3 blade attacks towards Murong Qingqing. 3 beams of gold-red blade light sliced through the air, chasing after her. Power field cut, protective sky demon kill. Murong Qingqing performed her power field cut with both of her hands, breaking 2 of the blade light instantly. When the last blade light got into the protective sky demon power field, it had been shattered by the rotating power field around Murong Qingqing. Yen Qihua obviously did not expect to beat Murong Qingqing with 3 blade light attack. His goal was to get closer. Once he got closer, he would throw out his second kill gold flame cut immediately. Woo! The sky demon power field had been broken by half, but it was eventually blocked by Murong Qingqing's ace attack, condensed power field. However, that aggressive power that had been added to the blade light had blown her away immediately. Crack ground cut. With no time to lose, Yen Qihua stabbed his blade into the ground and threw out a slanted attack, beating his opponent with 1 attack. After the top 4 young warriors had made their moves, there were still 6 warriors left. Without too many surprises, Xikong Sheng had taken out Mo Yen without any effort. Li Daoxian had broken Gu Yuyun's Stone King Body Protective Fist art with his super-powerful sword art cultivation. After that, Tua Baku had fought with Lin Yun. Seriously speaking, the battle between the two was the real battle of equals. Tua Baku's defense was super powerful, and Lin Yun's was not weak either. If the two wanted to break through each other's defense, it would be almost impossible. In the end, Lin Yun performed his blood fire break and burned through Tua Baku's protective Jin Qi layer. At the same time, Tua Baku performed his dragon traveling world and blew Lin Yun away, landing heavily on the dark blue light wall. The battle was still not over yet. Crawling back up from the ground, the two continued to battle. This time, it was no longer a battle of battling power, but of stamina. Whoever could last until the end would be the winner. After half an hour, Tua Baku's stamina was still slightly better, and he had barely won against Lin Yun. Right then, he was already gasping for air, and his battling power had been greatly reduced. As the battle between the two had ended, There would no longer be any battles between top young warriors in the 68th round, which made people lose their interest. This situation did not last long. Once the 68th round had ended, the sky had already turned dark, and the battles for the day had come to an end. Chapter 281. On the second day, it started to drizzle from the dark sky, landing on the ground. The slightly dark environment made the hidden dragon ancient city look even more ancient. On the battling field, there were tons of people, their voices reaching the sky. This little bit of rain did not affect them at all since they had reached the clasping Yuan realm. The first 4 or 5 rounds were fine. But don't you think that starting from the 67th round, the judges have purposely left the 3 of them until the end? What do you think the judges are doing? Their eyesight is way more powerful than us. Naturally, they could see it clearly. Otherwise, if the 3 of them were to fight right at the beginning, then the hidden dragon rank competitions would not be perfect. Yeah, that's true. It has been like this for the past few competitions as well. The top battles are always left to the last round. The warriors who were watching the battles had some doubts about the order of the competitions, but they were soon dispelled. As long as it did not violate the rules of the competitions, the judges still had a lot of power. They had the right to arrange their opponent. Even the leaders of the rank 6 martial institutions might not be able to decide, since their disciples were powerful enough. But at the same time, if they were not powerful enough, the arrangement would be useless. It all depended on the power. The 69th round of the competitions had officially begun. The first pair of top young warriors was Li Daoxian and Tua Baku. Compared to Yan Qihua, Li Daoxuan's movement art was slightly better. Besides Xikong Sheng, who had never used his movement art before, he was only second to Yi Chen. Therefore, Tua Baku's uppercut fist could not hit Li Daoxian as he had hoped. Instead, Li Daoxian had taken the opportunity to attack him a couple of times. Eventually, Tua Baku had lost to his silent ace attack. The second pair was Lin Yun and Mo Yen. Although Mo Yen had lost the competition this time, he had finally gained some fame. Judging on power, Lin Yun was not as powerful as Yan Qihua. Judging on battling skills, he was not as powerful as Li Daoxian, not to mention Yi Chen. Therefore, he had managed to gain the upper hand with his sky demon eyes. That thick and heavy fire yuan shield had a lot of weaknesses in his eyes. Unfortunately, Lin Yun's power was not to be underestimated. He was a powerful warrior at the same level as Tua Baku. If it were not for the fact that he had suffered too much damage before and his condition had dropped a bit, Mo Yen might not even be able to get the upper hand. After being enraged, Lin Yun threw out a crazy attack. That iron spear that was covered in flames was like a dragon playing in the water, bringing up the wind and waves. The flame was so strong that it had suppressed Mo Yen until the end of the battle. After that, Xikong Sheng and Murong Qinqing started to fight. Among the young generation, the 2 of them were the most popular. Xikong Sheng, the king warrior of the young generation, and the champion of the last hidden dragon rank, it was reasonable for him to be this popular. Although Murong Qinqing's power was not as powerful as Xikong Sheng, sometimes women did not need to rely on their power to win the popularity. Their looks and temperament were also part of their power, since most of the warriors watching the battle were male. You're very strong. Are you interested in going to the other domains with me? Murong Qinqing was about the same age as Xikong Sheng, they were both in their 20s. But in Xikong Sheng's eyes, Murong Qinqing was only a woman. It was that simple. Murong Qinqing shook her head slightly. Sorry, I will go out to train myself. But it is just a personal plan. I do not want to get involved with anyone. What a shame. Xikong Sheng did not care too much about it. As a beautiful woman with both power and temperament like Murong Qinqing, no one would not appreciate her beauty. He was no exception. However, for him, besides training, everything else was secondary. He only felt a bit regretful. Let's start. Xikong Sheng looked serious as he signaled to Murong Qinqing. Sky Demon Catch. Without performing any attacking movement, Murong Qingqing accumulated a huge amount of Sky Demon power field with both of her hands, attacking where Sikong Shing was from a distance. Crack! The ground 3 steps behind Sikong Shing cracked open. Blink body movement. Murong Qingqing's pupils shrank. She threw out her attack first, and Sikong Shing moved his body behind her. Because of his extreme speed, normal people would not be able to see his movement at all. It was as if the Sky Demon Catch had gone through his body and landed behind him. It was the first time that Sikong Shing had performed his movement art. It was obviously more powerful than Li Daoxuan's, and even Yi Chen's was not as powerful as it. Off the stage, Yi Chen squeezed his eyes. The movement art that Sikong Shing had performed was indeed a top-rank Earth Realm movement art, which was rarely seen even in rank 6 martial institutions. After all, it would be quite good for a normal rank 6 martial institution to have 4 or 5 top-rank Earth Realm martial arts. How could it be possible for them to have all kinds of top-rank Earth Realm martial arts? For example, Li Daoxuan's sword step shift was only top-rank Earth Realm. But of course, it was definitely one of the top-rank Earth Realm flying arts. The good thing is that my separating shadow flying art is also top-rank Earth Realm. Otherwise, I would be in big trouble. Back when he was on the Snake Island in the Star Region Lake, Yi Chen had already trained his Flow Ruo 3 mysterious spell to the 3rd level, which had increased his separating shadow flying arts rank to top-rank Earth Realm. However, since the beginning of the competition, he had not only restricted his sword intent, but also his flying art, which was also one of his ace attacks. Force Field Cut. Murong Qingqing accumulated 2 Sky Demon power fields with both of her hands, one positive and the other negative. The fields pressed and combined together, forming a huge cutting power, attacking towards Sikong Shing. Sikong Shing's body did not move at all, but he threw out his ace attack from his mysterious Sky Tyrant Fist art, confronting Murong Qingqing's ace attack head-on. Boom! The force field cut was shattered. Fist Tyrant River. After shattering the force field cut with one punch, Sikong Shing threw out another punch, which had shattered Murong Qingqing's protective Sky Demon power field. It was something that had never happened since the beginning of the competition. Naturally, Murong Qingqing had lost the battle. After devouring Murong Qingqing's Dragon Fountain Qi, Sikong Shing's dragon-shaped shadow had grown to 80 meters, only 2 feet away from 90 meters. I am afraid that no one would be able to beat Sikong Shing anymore. No, he would not even be able to fight with all of his power. Even Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Great Art had been shattered by him with only one punch. In the last Sky Demon rank, Yan Qihua was still able to fight against Sikong Shing. But this time, Sikong Shing is way too powerful. He is so powerful that most of the young warriors do not even have the right to challenge him. Yeah, Yi Chen's power is at the same level as Yan Qihua. Neither of them would be able to face Sikong Shing. While everyone was talking, the competition continued until Yi Chen beat Gu Yuyun, and Yan Qihua beat Bing Ling. The 69th round of competitions had come to an end. 2 hours had passed, and the 70th round had arrived. The next round would be the last one. This round of competitions had not started yet, but the audience seating had already been heated up. There was nothing else, because in this round of competitions, Yi Chen would either be fighting against Yan Qihua or Sikong Shing. He would have to face one of them eventually, and no matter how the judges arranged the order, it would not change that fact. In the crowd's anticipation, Mo Yan had beaten Bing Ling, and Lin Yun had beaten Gu Yuyun. Now, it was Tua Baku and Murong Qingqing's turn. Murong Qingqing's power might not be as powerful as Lin Yun's, and even if it was, it would not be that powerful. However, Tua Baku still could not get the upper hand. Under Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Catch, Tua Baku could not even maintain his own battling rhythm. On the other hand, Murong Qingqing's power field cut could be ranked in the top 3 among the young generation, seeming to be right behind Xikongsheng. It was even more powerful than Yan Qihua and Li Daoxuan's ace attacks. Tua Baku's defense would naturally not be able to handle it. But even so, he had only been slightly wounded. After Tua Baku had lost, all of the spectators were getting more and more excited, waiting for the next battle. The 23rd battle, Yi Chun against Yan Qihua. The head judge stood up and announced the battle himself. Boom! The sound wave was so loud that even the rain in the sky had been shaken off. A wave of slight pattern appeared in the air, covering the whole battling field. In this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions, the 4th to 10th place was basically clear, and there would not be too many changes. Only the top 3 were still in the dark. To be exact, the 2nd and 3rd place were still not clear, and the 1st place had been reserved for Xikongsheng. Without a doubt, the 2nd and 3rd place would be Yan Qihua and Yi Chun. Xikongsheng would not even be considered, since only the 2 of them had won all of their battles without losing a single battle. Yan Qihua paid a lot of attention to this battle. He had already taken out his long blade when he was still off the stage, wearing it on his waist. His whole body was filled with blade intent as he flashed onto the battling platform. A blue light flashed, and Yi Chun followed right after him. Facing Yan Qihua's sky-high blade intent and blade aura, Yi Chun's expression did not change at all. With his blue robes and the long sword on his waist, he looked very calm, with a sense of calmness. Before the battle, I had never thought that you would be the one to make it this far. The blade intent on Yan Qihua's body was getting stronger and stronger. There was only a thin line between him and the 70% blade intent, and it seemed like it could break through at any second. However, this thin line was not that easy to break. Without a certain level of mastery of the blade art, it would be impossible to break through it even after 3 to 5 years. And this was because there were powerful warriors from the Fire Spirit Palace who had mastered the completed blade intent, who had given him a lot of guidance. Yi Chun looked very calm. Yan Qihua's blade intent had undoubtedly reached the peak of 60%, which was even more mature than the 60% blade intent. Let's fight! The sword intent was like an unsheathed weapon, shooting out of Yi Chun's body. It was the same 60% sword intent, but Yi Chun's sword intent was even purer than Li Daoxuan's. Fire Dragon Cut. The blade chi turned into a dragon as Yan Qihua pushed his Zhen Qi and threw out a horrifying blade attack towards Yi Chun. A deep star-like sword light flashed in the air. No one knew when, but Yi Chun's star scar sword had already been taken out of its scabbard. Along with the 60% sword intent and the poetic perspective of the sky-shattering clouds, it accurately pointed at the head of the fire dragon blade chi. Sparks flew everywhere, looking like a rain of fire. Flashing his body, Yi Chun broke through the rain of fire and appeared in front of Yan Qihua, stabbing out his sword. That sword attack was sharp, but it also carried the elegance of a sightseeing. There was no need for any smoke or fire, and it was thrown out naturally, as if he was drawing a landscape painting with his sword. All of his experiences had been condensed into one sword attack. All of the previous battles had not been wasted. Plus, this sword attack did not combine all of the complicated experiences into one. There was not enough time. Yi Chun believed that he was not the only one who had comprehended it, but they would need more time to absorb the essence of it. What? Since the start of the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, it was the first time that Yan Qihua had fallen into a disadvantage. Yi Chun's sword attack made him feel like he could not block it. The poetic perspective of his sword art was too well coordinated, so well coordinated that Yan Qihua did not even know how to fight back. Right then, he finally realized how powerful Yi Chun was. His sword art training was so powerful that Li Daoxian could not even compare to him. Chapter 282. Explode. At that critical moment, Yan Qihua bit on the tip of his tongue. The Zhen Qi inside his body exploded like a volcano, bringing up a sky-piercing blade intent. It seemed like he was going to block out Yi Chen's fatal sword attack with his exploding Zhen Qi power. Swoosh! The star scar sword slowed down a bit, but it still stabbed in. The sword light was pointing right at Yan Qihua's chest. Open! Having gained a little bit of time, Yan Qihua did not have time to think. He threw out his burning red iron fist, landing on that sword light. A metal clashing sound was heard. The star scar sword in Yi Chen's hand had been bent by the fist power and bounced off. His whole body had been blown away, and Yan Qihua was even worse off. His left fist was covered in blood, and there was a bone-deep sword mark on it. If it were not for his high cultivation and the top-rank Earth Realm martial art from the Fire Spirit Martial School, that sword attack would have broken his left arm. Watching what had happened on the battling platform, everyone was shocked. What is going on? This is too crazy. One sword attack had wounded Yan Qihua? Could it be that Yi Chen had not used all of his power before, and was just playing around? In everyone's mind, Yi Chen's flying art and skills were slightly better than Yan Qihua's, but their overall power was almost the same. In some ways, Yi Chen was still not as good as Yi Chen. However, right from the beginning, Yi Chen had overturned everyone's judgment and wounded Yan Qihua with an unbelievable sword attack. Yan Qihua's eyes were burning with fire. You have successfully pissed me off. Now you will have to face my anger. With a loud yell, Yan Qihua pushed his Zhen Qi to the 7th rotation. That long blade in his hand that was covered in flames suddenly turned into a roaring fire dragon. It attacked towards Yi Chen with a momentum that could crack open mountains and break the sky. Right then, Yan Qihua had used all of his battling power, which was at least 30% more powerful than when he was facing Li Daoxian and Lin Yun. His spirit, qi and soul had all exploded. Seeing that, Yi Chen's expression did not change at all. His body kept flashing and drifting, easily dodging that burning attack. Then, he shook his star scar sword. That bright sword light spread out like rain, covering Yan Qihua, who was not far away. Yan Qihua sneered. You think you can hurt me again? What a joke. I, Yan Qihua, will never suffer a second loss in the hands of the same person. After saying that, a scarlet wave of fire spurted out from his back, propelling his body forward explosively as he slashed with his saber in the air. Instant kill golden flame slash. The golden-red saber projection sliced through the air, turning this part of the world into a vacuum. Yi Chen looked very calm as his index and middle fingers rested on the tip of the sword handle. That sword attack landed right in the middle of the golden-red saber light. The air started to ripple. After a light popping sound, the saber light suddenly shattered. It was split open in the middle like a piece of cloth that had been torn apart. Why does it seem like there is a shadow of the silent ace attack in there? Li Daoxian looked surprised. That sword attack of Yi Chen's seemed to have nothing to do with his silent ace attack. However, in his eyes, it clearly contained the mystery of hiding the sword light, which was extremely tough and penetrating. He had guessed it right. Yi Chen had indeed added a bit of the silent ace attack into it, but it was not as powerful as Li Daoxian's. But combined with the sky-shattering cloud's sword movement and poetic perspective, this sword attack was not only tough, but also had the effect of tearing everything apart. It was the evolved version of the sky-shattering clouds. Yan Qihua was dazed for a second. He had never fought with Yi Chen before, so he did not know how powerful he was. But after fighting with him for a while, he felt that his opponent's mature battle experience was definitely not something that ordinary people could compare with. Every time, he would always be able to cause the most damage with the least cost. With Yi Chen as his biggest enemy, Yan Qihua looked extremely serious as he crazily activated his 9-turn Fire Spirit Art. 7 turns of Fire Spirit Art, Red Flame Battle Body. Every time his 9-turn Fire Spirit Art increased by 1 turn, his power would increase tremendously. At the 7th turn, he could already beat Li Daoxian in its normal state. Now that he had evolved the 7th turn to the high rank, the Red Flame Battle Body, all of his Zhen Qi seemed to be burning up. His aura only increased, and very soon, he had broken through his original level. Crack! The platform under his feet could not handle that aggressive and burning power anymore. Countless twisted cracks appeared on it as the fire chi rose up. In less than half a blink of an eye, Yan Chihua's aura and battling power had increased to the next level. He roared as his whole body jumped up from the ground. That bright red long blade sliced through the air, dragging out a light black light mark in the air. The light mark was not affected by the gravity, which had increased the speed of the blade light drastically. Aurora fire lightning. Fire cloud earth crack cut. Off the stage, all of the young warriors who had seen Yan Chihua's powerful attack had lost their composure. They had not expected that Yan Chihua would be this horrifying when he had used his real power. He was like a fire demon. Lin Yun, who had also trained fire element Jin Qi, was no different from a kid in front of him. Focusing his eyes slightly, Yi Chen's body became blurry, turning into layers of shadows that spread out in all directions. It was like a startled moth flying in the sky. Yan Chihua, who was standing in front of him, laughed wildly. Do not waste your time. Once the fire cloud earth crack cut is performed, the ghosts and the gods will be destroyed. Just as he finished talking, the blade light spread out, looking like a fire cloud in the sky, burning the sky red. Shoo! 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 Pieces of black shadows had been burned into smoke one after another, disappearing completely. The people in the audience seats could not help but scream. The battle between Yan Chihua and Yi Chen had been full of twists and turns. At first, Yi Chen had the upper hand, but now it was Yan Chihua who had the upper hand. And it seemed like Yan Chihua's advantage was much more obvious. All of the people from the Sky Cloud Martial School looked worried. Right now, it would be a lie if they did not hope for Yi Chen to win the first place. As long as he could beat Yan Chihua, Yi Chen would be able to fight against Xikong Sheng. By then, no matter if he won or lost, it would be enough to shock the whole South Rudra region and bring endless luck to the Sky Cloud Martial School. However, Yan Chihua was just too powerful. Only Su Jing's expression did not change at all. Yi Chen's real power was way more powerful than everyone had imagined. This was her instinct about Yi Chen. The separating shadow flying art, which had been restricted to high-rank Earth Realm, was broken. Yi Chen was a bit surprised, since his separating shadow flying art was different from normal flying art. It had reached its current rank with the help of the Flow Rudra 3 mysterious spell, which allowed it to maintain the effect of the separating shadow flying art, and its speed was no weaker than other flying arts of the same rank. Of course, it was not enough to make him change his expression. He backed out of the way, and his sky-shattering cloud, which had been activated with his 60% sword intent, was ready to attack. He threw out a sword attack onto that aggressive fire cloud. Swoosh! The fire cloud was blown back. Yan Chihua's fire cloud earth-shattering cut contained the poetic perspective of clouds and fire, while Yi Chen's sky-shattering cloud contained the poetic perspective of clouds and thunder. The two overlapped with each other. Playing with the poetic perspective of clouds in front of Yi Chen was no doubt asking for trouble. What? Yan Chihua backed out quickly, avoiding the attack of the fire cloud. The leader of the Fire Spirit Palace's expression changed drastically as he stared at Yi Chen. He was very clear about Yan Chihua's fire cloud earth-shattering cut, which had reached a very high level of the poetic perspective of cloud. Added with the help of the poetic perspective of fire, it was way more powerful than just two poetic perspectives. However, under Yi Chen's sword attack, the poetic perspective of clouds had been used by him, and had been pushed back. How could he not be shocked? Mortal realm martial arts focus on the aura, and there are very few poetic perspectives. As for Earth realm martial arts, without a poetic perspective, one would not be able to reach its peak. How could this guy's poetic perspective of clouds be more powerful than the red fire? How did he train it? There were countless powerful warriors in the Fire Spirit Palace, and a lot of them had completed the poetic perspectives of Earth realm martial arts. After witnessing and hearing about Yan Qihua's talent, he knew that among the young generation, he was only second to Xikong Sheng. The leader of the Fire Spirit Palace did not believe that anyone could surpass his head disciple, Yan Qihua, in terms of poetic perspectives. Yan Qihua did not believe it, so he yelled, "Just now, my attacks were too scattered. Let's see how you can break this attack." Fire Cloud Golden Flame Cut. It also contained the poetic perspective of clouds and fire, so the power of the Fire Cloud Golden Flame Cut was extra concentrated. It was thrown out with 60% of the peak blade intent, attacking toward Yi Chen. Stubborn. His body was as straight as a sword as Yi Chen held his Star Scar sword with both of his hands. The air around the sword body twisted and collapsed rapidly, looking like an ocean of clouds rolling. Then, lightning flashed, jumping around. Pap! A 1-meter thick lightning light shot out, which was actually formed from sword chi. The sky-shattering clouds used the poetic perspective of clouds as the main one, and the poetic perspective of thunder as the support. However, the way it was presented was the poetic perspective of thunder, and the poetic perspective of clouds as the support. Therefore, at first glance, one would think that it was just the poetic perspective of thunder, but it was actually the poetic perspective of clouds combined with the poetic perspective of thunder. It could be called the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds. The lightning light attacked crazily, landing right in the middle of the golden red blade light. Countless arm-thick electric lights exploded, looking like snakes and spears, very eye-catching. Boom! The blade light was shattered. Yan Qihua had blood dripping out of the corner of his mouth as he backed out a couple of steps. He could not believe that his ace attack was completely useless in front of Yi Chen. It had been completely suppressed, which was something that he could not accept. After shattering Yan Qihua's ace attack with one sword attack, Yi Chen shook his head secretly. If it were someone else, perhaps he would have been beaten by Yan Qihua. Unfortunately, his opponent's poetic perspective of clouds was not as powerful as his, which was why he was naturally suppressed. Therefore, the power of his poetic perspective of fire had been greatly reduced. The world of martial artists was always complicated. Power was only the foundation, and the most important thing was how to turn one's disadvantage into one's advantage, not being suppressed. According to Yi Chen's knowledge, clasping Yuan realm warriors had only touched the surface of the poetic perspective. Once they reached the astral reaching realm, the poetic perspective would be the king. Without a high poetic perspective, one's power would be greatly reduced, unless one's foundation was extremely powerful and could ignore other people's poetic perspectives. Just like the minor blood demon separating great art, which was a special earth realm martial art. It did not care about poetic perspectives, but only focused on increasing the warrior's power, which was the foundation. Therefore, for high-level warriors, the basic power was important, but the comprehensive ability was equally important. The former could increase one's natural advantage, while the latter could make up for one's weakness and win against the strong. With both, one would be a powerful warrior. I have not lost yet. Flame Cut. After comprehending the peak level 60% blade intent, Yan Qihua's mentality was extra solid, and he would not be affected easily. Right then, he knew that the poetic perspective of clouds would not work on Yi Chen, so he used the pure poetic perspective of fire and threw it out together with his ace attack. The fire wave was extremely powerful, spreading out everywhere. Poetic perspectives alone are the hardest to understand. Your poetic perspective of fire is not even at the tip of the iceberg. Thunder light exploded as Yi Chen threw out a sword attack, cutting open the fire wave. His body flashed as he performed his separating shadow flying art. Layers of shadows spread out, spreading out in all directions. Ting! Without seeing the sword light, Yan Qihua's red long blade flew out of his hand.